got next.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of the Street Fighter I Got Next community podcast discussion group. What's going on, y'all? It's your host with the most, the man without the RSF plan, your boy ShadowAce on the mic, and I'll be the moderator for the podcast this evening, joined by my co-host on production, making sure the vibes are smooth, the mayor of making himself, SirRetro, and of course, as tradition, I want to first thank SirRetro for agreeing to host this discussion. The reason I've assembled the group of cast of characters here for today is to get you this evening is to get your views and opinions on your local Street Fighter scene and an opportunity to discuss how you feel about your local scene and the game in general. The game has been out. Talk about Street Fighter 5 has been out for about 7 years by now, and yeah, that's quite a long time before the next installment drops within a few weeks for Street Fighter 6. So I know each of you may hold different views and opinions towards the game and the community in general. So this platform is just an opportunity for you guys to express yourself in a constructive manner. Let's start off first by introducing our panel for this evening. I'll go first. My name is ShadowAce, one half of the team of the I Got Next Street Fighter podcast community discussion group. I am a player, commentator, podcaster, bracket runner, TO, a man of many hats. Been in the FGC for over about 10 years. First entry was into Street Fighter 4, Vanilla Street Fighter 4. El Ferte, enthusiast. Speaking of Ferte, we do have a Ferte amongst our midst as well.
Hey.
But yeah, SirRetro, yeah, talk to the good people. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm SirRetro. I'm the other half of the I Got Next podcast series. For those who don't know, I also am the producer and a little bit editor. Of course, I'm doing the intros and a few other graphics here and there. But of course, shout outs once again to Jacko Man for making the promo of our podcast series since day one, as you see here. But of course, for me, the Mill Georgia Reboot Retrocade Gaming head TO, and also part of Swag Out Nerds. So I've been running tournaments here for at least 7 years, but officially founded the Reboot Retrocade Gaming community 5 years ago. And so I've been running tournaments of all types, mainly from old school fighting games to modern and obscure and other various events and so forth. Also compete every once in a while, and also been running training sessions, stuff like that. Mainly in Street Fighter 5, I was an Alex main, then added G to to the mix, and of course you see here potentially looking to JP for Street Fighter 6. So I'm looking forward to definitely try Street Fighter 6. We're almost there, and but that is all about me in a nutshell. So thank you, ShadowAce, for bringing me on board to be part of this amazing series. We're on episode 6, and I would say this though, because though I try to do a hint of where we've been going, because we've been traveling from a few places. You know, travel to California, you travel to Missouri, travel to oof.
But to Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona. I would.
Was that Arizona, Maryland?
Yeah. And the thing is, though,
Michigan.
Yeah, even Michigan. There we go. Thank you. And the thing is that I want. It was like almost a joke. It'd be an ironic joke because I want to say, we're not in Kansas anymore, but I guess we are. We still are.
I don't want to go home. I want to go home.
So who got here?
We got 3 guests with us today. This is actually a first for the podcast series. I mean, normally we'll talk with 1 or 2 people here and there, and even then we did like filler episodes where it was just me and Retro. But today we got 3 guests joining us from the Kansas City FGC, and let's start off first by introducing what did Redifer say? He said past, present, and future. So let's start off with the future. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go forward to back. So Redifer, introduce yourself to the good people.
So future, because I'm the youngest and most handsome of the group.
Cool.
I am TKC Redifer. I'm part of the I'm gonna call us the TO squad for Kansas City fighting game community. I cut my teeth in Street Fighter 5. I started playing around 2018ish, so I'm relatively fresh compared to the rest of these guys. I play Ken. Looking to play Ken again in Street Fighter 6. I'm a big retro enthusiast, similar to SirRetro. I got a big old collection sitting here right next to me. I'm all about that, and that's all there is to me.
All right, and next up on the docket here we're going to the present with one of the TOs of the Kansas FGC scene, RobbieV, aka Diabetic Death Ray. Robbie, talk to the good people.
My name is RobbieV. I'm the current head TO, current lead for the Kansas City fighting game community. I've been TOing about our organizing fighting game events about as long as you guys had, about 10 years. We just celebrated our 10th year anniversary of our weekly local Top in the Shop.
Congrats!
Back in October.
Wow!
So it's been a long time. Been doing it. I got started in Street Fighter 4 as well. I hosted a video game show in college, and we were doing weekly video game discussion and whatever, and doing fighting games. My buddy at University of Missouri was like, "You got to check this clip out." And I think everybody, in the podcast, like, I know exactly what clip he shared, right? Evil Moment 37. I saw it, and I go, I have no idea what that is. I got to be a part of it. And nothing fundamentally changed me more as a person than seeing that clip. And I played college baseball. I did all that, hit walk-off home runs, won championships, but nothing hit me like that. So I was like, I got to be a part of that. So started hosting, started playing Street Fighter 4, got involved with JSpot in the Kansas City community after that, and really been working hard to establish, true Midwest fighting game presence by keeping the good stuff that was started with JSpot, and he'll talk about that in a second, keeping that moving forward and just keep building on it and getting bigger. I definitely stand on the shoulders of giants in that regard. So thanks for having us on. Appreciate all you guys do for Street Fighter 4. We're in the Ultra Street Fighter 4 revival group, so we get to see all that kind of stuff. So which we'll probably talk about a little bit that later. But yeah, that's what we do.
Y'all too?
What's that?
Ultra Street Fighter 4 as well, revival group too?
Yeah. We're in there. I read and watch. We actually got a Street Fighter 4 bracket coming up next week, I think.
What is going
anyways,
on?
that's who I am. I'll pass it off to JSpot.
All right, JSpot. We saved the last but not least. We went to the future, present, and now we're going back to the past with JSpot. JSpot, talk to the good people.
Man, that would make me the oldest, the longest running, the fattest, heaviest, most knowledgeable. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, make the most money. Whatever. No, I'm just kidding. I am so kidding. So kidding. But yeah. No big deal being last. Here I am. I'm JSpot. Been doing hosting and hosting like local hookups and stuff since about 2007 out here in Kansas City. Kansas City, Missouri, I might add. I might add right there. We are not in Kansas anymore because we never were. I'm just saying. Anyway, KCMO out here repping the fighting game scene. Was here for the fall of the arcades and just couldn't have that no more. When I found the Shoryuken forums, SRK back in the day, found the group of guys who were still playing, going to local pizza places and stuff, still trying to get their fighting games on. Found an opportunity to get closer to the local scene that was already established here. That did the original version of our tournament called Max Out. From there, found a good opportunity to start hosting my own hookup, kind of make a bigger group of friends that way. Brought us into the Facebook age, started that whole thing. Worked with the whole migration from SRK forums over to Facebook, and then, since then, these two guys have taken it even further, bringing us into, the more social media age, right? Because I don't think Facebook was truly Facebook or social media back in the day. It was just another site, right? We used it for group chat. Other than that, helped with hosting tournaments, helped with hosting tournaments wherever I travel, make friends out there, do my own thing. I always like to do something stupid, do something big, buy people, 500 chicken strips from Raising Cane's, bring it into old seasons beatings, make friends that way, right? So work on connections that way. Other stuff that I've done just here locally, right? Started streaming, with the group first, doing goofy stuff like building arcade sticks and arcade sticks that are half controllers and stuff for the whole scene, and really just trying to do it different, right? I respect everything that's always been here, and I use everything that's always been here, right? Because man, if it wasn't for the guys who came before me hosting tournaments, I wouldn't have had a lot of the passion and drive to do all the goofy shit that I've done. And then, man, you just, like Robbie said, one day you meet different people you stick to, and been proud to still be connected to the scene where we're at now, and actually trying to look at what's the next chapter for me, being the old guy here, because I don't understand what half these kids are talking about no more. So trying to find more of a leadership role here and get back into the scene now that I have kids and a career and everything.
Nice, beautiful introduction from all three of you guys. Thank you again so much for joining us on this episode 6 here. Which we were trying something new by filling out like the Google document for people who were interested in trying to get in on the show, instead of having a DM and just like wait months and weeks just to get a message back and get left on read and stuff like that. That's all part of the all part of the spiel, but it is what it is. We keep moving forward. So I'm glad you guys answered the call, and yeah, man, we're gonna have a good time. So this is season 2. So if you missed out, guys, for those who are tuning in live, if you missed out on the previous episode, you can check it out on Reboot Retrocade Gaming's YouTube channel for that season 1 and season 2 playlist for full episodes. So whether you're doing you working out, you doing chores around the house, or multitasking with something, you can throw on an old episode on the background and check it out there from all of our previous guests that we've talked to so far. And it's also on my main Twitter page too, as well, for that link. So yeah, like Richard said earlier, we went to Kalamazoo, Michigan, for episode 1. We talked with Philosopher. Episode 2 was in Maryland with OG On and Metro M, and then we went to California with episode 3 with Calm Warrior, and we went to Arizona for episode 4 with Sam Show legend Bates, and then we took a stop somewhere in Missouri for episode 5 to speak with DJ Vest, and here we are with episode 6 with 3 members of the Kansas FGC. So once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. So we're gonna get started. Got a couple of good, interesting questions, and it's been a lot. I think our last episode was maybe about a month ago. That, yeah. So a lot of new developments have came around since then. So before we get to the future, we got to understand the past. We got to understand the origin story. I need to know, what is the origin story of the Kansas City FGC community. Like, what was the scene like? Let's go back to I think either JSpot or Robbie could answer this one because Redifer said that he came in 2018. So I want to know what were the first few months of Street Fighter V like for the scene up there?
Oh man. Hey Robbie, that's you, man.
Yeah.
So
I say
I
I was
think
way before that.
I think it's important to know kind of the situation about geography when you talk about FGC, because it's easy to imagine going to New York, and it's easy to imagine going to Chinatown Fair and seeing all the arcade machines and seeing all these regular people. Or maybe you're on a boardwalk in Southern California and there's arcades, and it's easy to understand that type of culture, right?
Mhm.
So now you're in the Midwest, where we are 3,000 miles away from any major body of water. Nothing cool happens in the Midwest. We don't have any skyscrapers. We don't have any of the cool Hollywood level stuff. So understanding the geography, I think, is important. So what we have is, while these other places have arcades, that these like established events, we have malls, and our mall might have an arcade. When I say might have an arcade, it might have a Mortal Kombat 2 machine and a Street Fighter 2 machine, and then kind of some random shooting game and so on and so forth. So like
Mhm.
JSpot's perspective, being involved with it, I'm 35. JSpot is a little bit older than me. Redifer's a little bit younger than me. So he was kind of around more for that time of he could actually go somewhere and play games. Whereas for me growing up, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, or when we were doing our sound check, we'd go to an arcade. My mom would say, "Hey, I'm gonna play skee ball. Here's 4 quarters. You can play any game here except you can't play those fighting games." So as a kid, I'm sitting there going like, "Man, I want to go play that Marvel vs. Capcom machine. It's got Spider-Man and all these characters on the side of it. I want to go play it." My mom says, "You can't play those games." "Why, Mom?" "Because you lose too fast and you come and ask me for more money." So my own mom was calling me free before free was even a part of our daily vocabulary. But that was kind of the limited exposure that we had in terms of the arcade experience. And I was probably 7 or 8 years old at that point, so like I didn't even really fully understand it. So jump towards mid 2000s, online gaming becomes more prevalent, arcades start drying up. Not just it's bad if arcades are drying up on the coast. What do you think's happening in the Midwest? It's a literal drought. So
Mhm.
arcades are closing. There's not really much of anything. We fall into that FGC kind of dark ages between 2002 and 2008, when the savior best game ever created, Street Fighter 4, comes out and starts kind of reviving stuff. That's when
Mhm.
JSpot and Co come in, organize people on the SRK forums, and they start doing stuff at local pizza joints. Hey, we're going to bring monitors. And that idea, that whole concept of, why would I bring my Xbox out of my house where I'm comfortable? Why would I bring a TV out of my house where it's comfortable, bring it somewhere and start playing in person? Well, because the arcades are gone. And Taito Station in Japan, you can go there and play Street Fighter 4 on big arcade machines and everything. That never existed here in the Midwest at all. And
Mhm.
that stuff was replicated on the coast. So them putting in that early work to make that standard. So when I got in the community, that was just standard. Of course you bring your console out. Of course you bring your monitor out, because that's what it takes to have a local scene. So I come in after this has already been established, and the guys ahead of me are putting in these work. They're doing a monthly every single month, and it's bringing in players from. So it's like, Kansas City, and again, just to go back that geography, Kansas City, we're Kansas City, Missouri. I would say 90% of Kansas City is in Missouri, 10% is actually in Kansas. And I understand people listening at home being like, then why is it called Kansas City? You had the same question as, IFC Yipes did. Whenever I had him sign a thing, say, "Hey, would you sign this for my scene?" He's like, "Cool, where are you from?" Kansas City. Kansas City, Missouri." "Well, why is it called Kansas?" I was like, "I don't know, Yipes. I didn't make the map. Just sign the damn, just sign the poster." And he's like, "Man, that's confusing, but whatever, you guys do you." So he signs or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get that." So we bring in players from, we have Kansas City, then 4 hours east of us is St. Louis. They have a pretty active community out there. That's kind of our natural born rivals. And then we bring in people from Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Arkansas, Oklahoma sometimes. But fast forward to now, I started hosting Top in the Shop, which is my local, because we were far enough away from Kansas City, about 30 minutes outside of where they were at, to where we started playing. I was like, man, we suck too bad. We're not. There ain't no way we're ever going to be good enough to play with the guys in Kansas City. So we're just going to kind of grind out here. And then they ignored us until they couldn't ignore us. So we started taking names, they start coming out and playing, and now we're all one big happy family. And that's kind of where we're at. We started out as KCSRK, and then we rebranded to KCFGC to kind of like be a little bit more inclusive towards all the fighting games going on at the time, because SRK is pretty exclusive to Street Fighter in that regard. So we want to make sure that everybody knew this wasn't just a Street Fighter town, so you can play everything else involved with it. So yeah, we've been keeping things going since then, and looking to just continue to grow from there. So I think that sums up the history lesson.
I'll tack on to the end of that specifically for Street Fighter V. Our first max out, which is our premier Kansas City's premier fighting game tournament. The SF5 bracket was so big that we had to run pools. And Robbie can speak more on that because, like I said, I was not there, but I've heard all the stories about just how big that first max out was for everybody.
To give kind of the scope of growth, it's like the average monthly tournament, and this was before I was involved planning it. I unfortunately had to work weekends and couldn't go to the Saturday afternoon tournaments. But it was like, oh, how many people did we have for Street Fighter 4 this month? Oh, we had about 25 to 30 people. So that was kind of like the norm. That was the expected. Ultra comes out, you get a little bit of a spike, then things kind of die off once people get tired of seeing Elena healing for the 800th time, or getting dive kicked to death by Yun. And so they're like, oh, okay, well, Street Fighter 5 comes out, maybe we'll see like 50 people. No, yeah, it was like 130 people crammed into the same space, and that was just for Street Fighter 5. So using that number as kind of our metric, that's what we're kind of basing around, like seeing a lot of that come back out for Street Fighter 6 when it hits on June 2nd. So that's where we're excited for that, like I'm sure everybody else is.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you. So you guys pretty much sounds pretty much similar to what was happening here on our scene, especially when Street Fighter 5 came out. There was that huge group of players that came out to, it was a new game, so people wanted to try it out. It was the next installment in the series. Do you have you seen some of those players like since that time, since it came out? I know that was 7 years ago, but like, have you ever wondered like what happened to those people? Did they just not get interested into the game and they just dropped off into something else, or
So
what do you think happened?
in the Street Fighter 4 era, I would kind of, if we kind of talk about this from like a historical context, in my opinion, Kansas City Street Fighter 4, that's when the scene really gets established. Obviously, we have guys that play Super Turbo, we have guys that played Alpha, we have guys that played Third Strike, all that stuff. But Street Fighter 4 was really, let's say, when JSpot and other guys came in, Lee, Axiom, those guys were like, Street Fighter 4 is the game. And then also it had Marvelverse 3 and KOF 13, all that stuff. So you have the first half of Street Fighter 4 where it's those guys, and then the second half of Street Fighter 4 was kind of whenever I came into the scene and kind of built my thing, and then the two scenes kind of came together. So where I'm going with this is we built up a lot of players, and we were all very passionate about the game to the point it's like we're watching majors every single weekend. We're watching Wednesday night fights every single Wednesday. We're watching NLBC, whatever is going on. We are students of the game. We know our frame data, we know our setups, we know all of our lab work. So when 5 transitions over, we had a lot of people in Kansas City that were like, Street Fighter 4 sucks, and let me tell you why. It's like, well, we're not interested in hearing that. We're interested in traveling, competing, and trying to be at the highest level. So obviously, you guys have heard it too. Oh, well, wait till Street Fighter 5 comes out and you all don't have hard knockdowns and vortexes. You guys are going to learn real Street Fighter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just like we're hearing with Street Fighter 5, where it's like, oh, wait till you guys don't have V-Trigger anymore. You guys are going to have to play real footsies. Okay, man, whatever you say. So a lot of people from the old guard kind of had that attitude about Street Fighter 5. I'm going to come in and show these Street Fighter 4 kids how it really is. They got beat out and then they left. So the guys from, but the good players, the real players, I think they made a hard decision where they were like, you know what, I'm going to step out. And they didn't step out and say, this is Street Fighter 5 sucks and here's why. They stepped out because they respect the game too much. And they say, I know what it takes to be a consistent competitor in this game, and I'm not going to disrespect the game or other players' efforts or our tournament organizers' efforts by sitting here and just like talking crap on the game. I'm just going to, bow out. And that's kind of what philosophy kind of imparted to me by JSpot, some of the other mentors I've had in my life, is that Street Fighter truly is a vehicle throughout life, on the road of life. You're on the bus, it's going to take you down the road. You're going to meet new people. You're going to go to new places. You're going to experience new things. You can step off the bus whenever you want. Street Fighter is always still going to be there. So for a lot of guys, that transition period, I think, at least the truly good players, they didn't talk crap about Street Fighter 5. They just said, you know, I'm done. I'm gonna go do something else. And a lot of those guys did find themselves at those crucial points in their life, whether they just graduated from school, you know, college or high school, whether they're just getting married, whether they're going to move away. Those were all things that kind of hit at the same time as Street Fighter 5 came out. So for them, it was like, I'm going to step off the bus. We know the bus is still there. I can get on. And then they come back every once in a while. You know, they'll chime in on the chat. So I'm expecting a lot of those guys to come back and give Street Fighter 6, you know, their fair shot. And I'm expecting a lot of people to come back and have the same attitude of like, I didn't play Street Fighter 5 because V-Trigger and Luke and blah, blah, blah. And I know all the memes up and down on Reddit. And I'm going to come in and tell you why Street Fighter 6 sucks day one. You know, it's just like, okay, bro, we'll see you at the next local or whatever. So that's kind of how that transition went. So we're really focused on this time around new players, imparting on them that not only, hey, this is a great place to come Street Fighter 6 when it comes out, but this is also a place where you belong. You can hang. You should be here playing these games with us because you can get something more out of this than just, you know, whacking buttons on a fight stick.
You know, that's a really big thing, because like when you talk about a few steps back, when we had the Street Fighter 5, you know, first big tournament, we got numbers that are like, you know, quadruple what we usually have, and it's like, fuck, like look at all these people. How can we do this all the time? If we could hold this down, we could do so much more, right? We could buy more consoles that are like just for the scene. We could pay for bigger venues, better venues, right? Like all this crazy stuff. It's like, man, how do we do that? And instead, I feel like we let a lot of that go. So like, I know if you then, you know, mirror that to the day when Street Fighter 4 came out, that was like old school scene, right? And like when I say that, I mean like old school playground. So, you know, nowadays everybody's nice. We're not jacking people for their shoes no more. We're not stealing Pokemon cards anymore. But back then, we still had that mentality of like, yo, use a bitch, go home. You know, you can't play with me because you lost too many times. Go sit at the little kid table. Go learn how to beat those scrubs over there and then come back, right? You must defeat Shenlong, right? And I think now, living through, like, we had a big bump at Street Fighter 4. We had a big bump at Super 4. We had a big bump at Ultra 4, right? Nobody cared about Arcade Edition, you know, stuff like that. And then, like, we see the same thing with 5, right? 5 brought the biggest bump we've ever had. And then Champ Edition brought a lot of those people back, but not as much. When 6 comes out, it's like, man, we can't let that go. Because, as Robbie said, as Redifer said, we're very community focused. It's like, it's not about, like, getting people so that we can raise money. Or, you know, I know I just alluded to finances there. It's not about that. It's like, at least what I've tried to pass along to a lot of the members in our group is we got to keep that arcade alive, right? We've already seen the arcade die. Robbie mentioned it. I lived through it. It was awful. I lived through it here, and then I moved to California, and it happened to me in LA too, like right around the right time, right? And it's awful. So I never want to see that go again. And we have this big opportunity coming up, and I mean, you guys have the same opportunity. I think every local has their opportunity of like, man, Street Fighter 6 is coming. PlayStation's pimping it. You know, they got it on all their states of play. Capcom's pushing it hella hard. We've got 4 different special editions to get. We already got 2 different companies with official arcade sticks. You know, Street Fighter movies in progress, whatever, right? We got all this hype, and we really need to like gather it and grab it.
Yeah,
I would push. I'm sorry, Robbie. I would push from our side. It's like community forward. How do we make sure we don't spill the beans? How do we make sure we don't let any of body fall through the cracks? Keep them around. Definitely harness the community power, right? Keep people in the groove so that we don't have, even if they have frustrations with the game, as we did with Street Fighter 5, right? Like, how do we keep them engaged? How do we keep them part of it? Because like a lot of those people that fell away, or a lot of those people that were just like, Third Strike had parry, and Street Fighter 4 has stupid focus attack. I hate this. I'm out. I'm still friends with those people. Like, I keep them around. Same comes with 5, where people were like, hey, I can't FADC. This game is slow, and I hate it. Ryu has short normals. V Trigger kills us. I'm still friends with all those people, and I said it at the when we just kind of signed on for our pre warm up, right, to get behind the scenes here. I said you guys are friends with a good buddy of ours, so your family, and like I try to definitely push that. I know Redifer and Robbie keep that too, that kind of family mentality to keep the whole community together, because we need players. And Street Fighter is a one-player game, but it's best with two people, right? So keeping as many two peoples around that we can is like the main goal from my point of view. So like Street Fighter 6 coming is like, oh my god, it's time to get ready, right?
Yeah, because I feel like I feel like you gotta have a blueprint for it. Like you have to, like especially in the TOs, like especially if you're a part of a team, you guys have to come together and figure out what direction the scene is going to move in, because you already know that it's going to be an influx of new players, not just having a Street Fighter background. You're going to see players coming in from different games, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, anime, Smash, like a bunch of different people who were saying, "Oh well, I'll just wait on 6, or I tried 5. I didn't really, I didn't feel it like that, but I'll definitely give 6 a shot." You're going to have to, as a community, figure out how to keep them, get those players to stay into that environment, because we know that June, the whole entire summer is just going to be super busy for a lot of places, especially with scenes that actually have like an offline scene, like somewhere to go and play. Most states don't have that. Most states don't have a local venue to go and play, so they kind of wish they were in other people's shoes. And then you have areas where they have a scene, but the players don't show up to support the venue. But it's kind of like apples and oranges, where you compare two different scenes on how they operate. But like, to get back to JSpot's point, if we have to make sure that there is a blueprint intact to get these players to play the game, right? Street Fighter 4, of course, didn't have the most successful launch, right? It just, I could go on and on, I could go on and on about what happened there, but it didn't have the most successful launch, and it kind of turned off a lot of people. When people were playing it, it was like, well, this doesn't feel like Ford, or this isn't Street Fighter. It just didn't work for them. So again, Championship Edition, of course, the game feels much better in its later stages, but it was already too late. People were already turned off onto the game. Now they're seeing the communication from Capcom, that they're doing a good job of keeping the updates and doing this, a lot of promotions and stuff. You start to see them doing stuff with celebrities, businesses. So there's a lot that Capcom is really trying to put effort in to making sure that this is going to be a successful launch. And as you guys and your scene, I know you guys are getting ready for that. Now, what advice would what is the game plan here to get ready for 6?
Yeah, so kind of going back to I'll kind of touch on a couple things. So the blueprint, I would say, having I've done this for 10 years, if I haven't learned lessons along the way, then I can't really call myself a fighting game player, right? Not being able to adapt to whatever situation gets thrown your way. So one of the mistakes that I wholly own up is that I talk about how that previous generation of fighting game players, oh, wait till Street Fighter 5 comes out. Street Fighter 4 is garbage. Your vortexes are garbage. You don't know footsies. You don't know how to play the game. When 5 comes out, you're gonna learn. That was a mentality I took really pretty personal, where I was listening to these guys who didn't play Street Fighter 4. They didn't study the game. They were not invested in the game purely out of spite for it, not because they had like real reasons to be upset with it, purely out of spite. And now they're telling me and my group of players that we're terrible at, we don't actually know how to play the game at all, et cetera, et cetera. And I got out of pools at Evo for Street Fighter 4 in 2015. I worked my ass off to get there, communicated with a lot of players, really put the time in. So going into Street Fighter 5, my focus was like, yeah, growing the scene, that's great, yeah. I want to beat these guys so bad they never come back. I want them to understand that we put that work in and that we are dedicated to getting better. And that kind of, for me personally, kind of overshadowed the opportunity that was presented. So when I talk about learning from my mistakes or whatever, that was one of the things like, man, maybe if I would have put a little bit more effort into paying attention to that brand new player, you know, that nameless guy that just can't throw a fireball quite yet or do whatever, maybe he would have stuck around. But I was so focused on beating these other guys so badly they never came back. And I was largely successful in that. But hey, all I got out of that success was -5 people instead of +5 people. So this time around, the blueprint has always been the same. The whole reason that I started hosting in the first place is because I realized, you know, playing competitive baseball, college sports, whatever, I need a team around me. Street Fighter, as JSpot mentioned, is not a, you know, not a team sport, still 2v2. But I realized, hey, I can't get better if I don't have someone to play with. You know, and that sounds very elementary, right? Of course, you need someone else to play. You just can't sit in training room all day. So growing the scene is like, well, if I'm an asshole to people and they don't want to play with me, they're not going to stick around. So the goal is always you need to provide a place that is welcoming. You need to provide a place where it's like this is our core tenet. You know, our core tenet is we want to be competitive and we want to be successful. We want to grow from that. So looping back around to the geography thing again, when I visited Wednesday night fights for Street Fighter 4, and I was like, holy, you know, God, they got like 100 people here to play Street Fighter 4. This is incredible. Coming from my local where 10, 12, 13, you know, maybe 20 people, you know, if you get a wild hair, like come out. Wow, this is crazy. And I picked up very fast based on when I was playing locals with those guys. And I got the same thing out in Boston when I went to play with Lucky D's group. Man, I suck and they could care less. And this kind of touches back into the Street Fighter 30th anniversary book where they interview Alex Valle about that, where he's like, yeah, man, you know, he started Wednesday night fights in his garage and they would come together as a group and say, these are the 2 worst players in the scene. You guys are going to play and whoever loses is out. That was crazy to me. When I read that on paper, I said, that is insane. The worst player just gets kicked out. Yeah, you're not welcome back, dude. You're not welcome back. I could not in 10 billion years imagine that kind of approach in Kansas City because our group is so small. So it's like we get 10, Wednesday night fights gets 50. So that's the scale you work off of. We get 20, NLBC gets, you know, 80. So the idea of having that of a cutthroat mentality would not be conducive to growth out here. If I get a new player, I don't care how bad you are. It's my job now. This is my job to make sure that I can get you up to my level. Because if I beat you 10 straight and you're not learning anything, how am I supposed to get better? I have to be selfish with my time if I want to get better. If I truly respect the spirit of competition getting better, it is my job now to teach, or at least try to give you the tools to get up to my level. Because I beat you, you go home and practice, you come back next week, you beat me, then I go home and practice, and then we both get better that way. So that's always been the main focus. We talked about the blueprint. That is the foundation. How can we provide a space that gives players the opportunity to come out and play, and also say, nah, that guy you're watching on screen, that guy that you saw get second at Capcom Cup this year that never won a single tournament in China and just some bison came out of nowhere, that could be you if you put the work in. And here's the opportunity to do so.
Robbie also has an example of that in this call. I came out in 2018, and I don't know how we didn't mention this previously, but we've got generations going on here. So JSpot mentored Robbie. When I came out for the first time, I was like super bronze. I barely knew how to do anything. My whole idea of neutral was heavy kick Tatsu because I thought the heavy kick Tatsu looked cool. And I finally decided to come out. I'd known about the FGC for a long time because I was a Smash player. Left the Smash scene because of their drama. Show up to my first local, go 0-2. I'm packing my stuff up. I didn't ask for casuals. I didn't do none of that. I didn't know how it worked. And Smash, you just kind of show up, play your bracket, go home. So I was doing that. I'm packing my stuff up. I'm like, man, you know, I got smoked. I thought I was going to at least do, you know, get one. I've been playing competitive games for a while now. And from the stream setup, Robbie takes his headset off, stands up, and is like, what are you doing? I said, going home. Do you have to go home? No. I mean, I don't have to. Okay, don't leave. We'll talk. So whole tournament gets wrapped up. I'm sitting there kind of just not talking to anybody, not doing nothing. And he sits down with me and like basically everything he talked about his blueprint it was exactly that. He's like, stop heavy kick Tatsu in neutral. That's dumb. Do you know any B&Bs? I'm like, what's a B&B? Sits down, shows me stuff that I can go home and work on. Come back the next week, show him that I can do the things that he showed me, and repeat ad nauseum until the end of time. We're still doing it. It's been years now, and I can still show up to Logan and be like, hey man, your firewall game is just so much better than mine. What's your thought process? And he'll break it down for me. And he does that not just for me, but anybody. Anytime we have a new player that wants to get better, whatever, I point them over to him. Because I've been through that. I know exactly how it goes, and I'm like, that is the man that you want to talk to.
So that's that main focus. That's and my story goes back to JSpot, where I played online Street Fighter 4 for about a year. I'd get home from work and I would just grind. I'd watch Excellent Adventures all day at work or whatever. I'd watch majors and be like, man, I want to play like those guys. Had a whole list of Ken players that I followed religiously. And I'd play online, Windows for Games Live. I'm talking like the Super Street Fighter days, or Street Fighter 4, where it was all that. And I'd go on Reddit or I'd go on SRK and say, how do I beat Bison Head Stomp? How do I beat Blanca Ball? How do I beat Vega Wall Dive? I would ask those day one questions that I had no idea, because I'm sitting there as a player. I'm trying to solve everything with the DP. If I can't DP it, then I'm lost. And I would get responses on the internet. Don't ask that scrub questions here. Go to SRK if you want that scrub stuff. We're Reddit. Which is funny thinking now about how Reddit is so, open and everybody gets pats on the back on there. And then I go to SRK, ask the same questions. Scrub, we don't deal with that scrub stuff here. Go to Reddit if you want to ask those stupid questions, blah blah. Okay, so fast forward, Arcade Edition's coming out. Our local Best Buy is hosting a tournament. This is going to be my first tournament ever. I got my little Street Fighter 4 SE stick, little white one with the 6 buttons on the top, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go play in an official Street Fighter tournament. And go there, and they say you can't have that. That's cheating. You can't have one of those things here. It's cheating. And if everybody can't have them, nobody can have them. I'm like, well, I thought this was a real Street Fighter tournament. Like I thought this was fight sticks allowed. And so I'm like bummed, and I put my fight stick back in my backpack, and I get an Xbox 360 pad. And like, I guess I'll play. I haven't been using a stick that long, so I can still kind of do stuff. And then it was like the doors open at Best Buy and this light flooded in, and I'm like looking like I can't see. And these 2 guys walk in, they got the Mad Cat shirts on. And I turn to my girlfriend at the time, I go, those are sponsored pro players. Oh my God. Just because they had the Mad Cat shirts on. That's all it took for me at the time. And they come in and say, we're here to play Street Fighter. They go, those aren't allowed because everybody can't have one. And the guy's like, what if I said I have a whole trunk full of them? If I brought in enough for everybody, are they usable? Oh, sure. And he just brings in like 5 fight sticks. And I'm like, they have to be. What human being on earth needs 5 fight sticks, right? Which is funny considering how many we all own now. Yeah, I'm like blown away. And I'm like, this guy must know Daigo personally. He probably goes over to his house and they have barbecues every Sunday. Like, and then the tournament organizer was like, okay, everybody can use fight sticks again. So I walk up to the guy and I'm like, man, he's playing El Fuerte. He's doing these combos. It sounds like he's playing a goddamn bongo, run, stop, loop. Bra, 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 bra. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I said, hey, man, can you show me how to do a Kara throw? I don't know how to do it. I know what it does. And he's just like, yeah, dog, you just, you just hit these buttons. Ken jumps forward and grabs it. I was like, wow, thanks. Okay, well, bye. I'll never see you again. Hey, join the Facebook page. It's kind of new. You should join it. Oh, okay, I'll do that. Thanks, man. Bye. And that was it. So then I started going to his house, training for Evo and all that other stuff. And the rest is history. But it all comes back to when I say stand on the shoulders of giants, that's what I'm talking about. If that stuff, if he would have said, I don't know, screw you, dude, go figure it out on your own, I'd probably been like, man, fighting games suck. I could go play literally anything else. This sucks. I'm out. So that is the, if I had to give advice to another community, it's like, look at Street Fighter 6. And this is something JSpot told me that really put it in perspective. When a new numbered Street Fighter game comes out, the whole world pays attention. This isn't Street Fighter Cross Tekken. This isn't Street Fighter Duel. This isn't Street Fighter 30th anniversary that has a bunch of crappy ports in it. This is Street Fighter 6. Like, Mortal Kombat comes out, cool. What's the fatalities? I've had enough. Guilty Gear comes out and say, cool, I almost forgot about that. But when Street Fighter 6 comes out, everybody's paying attention.
From a casual point of view, hey, you can't knock on Gear like that.
I can't knock on Mortal Kombat. I get
You
it.
can't knock on gear like that, dog.
But I'm just saying, Street Fighter 6, and when a named Street Fighter game comes out, it's going to be big. It always is. It never has not been big. So that's going back to the blueprint. It's an opportunity where I tell people at tournaments, even our monthlies and our regionals, hey, if you're playing somebody and they are struggling, take 10 seconds out of your day. Hey, man, let me show you something. Because if you take that 10 seconds, you make that person feel welcome, or you make them feel like they are capable enough to learn, then they're going to get that addiction, right? Whenever we watch Sako pull off a big combo, I want to go home and try that. That's that feeling you're trying to impart to somebody to be like, hey, that's great. And without that blueprint, then growth is going to stagnate and you're just going to be playing with the same 4 dudes forever. And nobody's going to get better that way. Or if you do, it's just going to be incredibly slow. So
that's
Yo.
sorry, I mean to cut you off, but you exactly what you just said, that I think that can be applied to a majority of other scenes, just depending on the mindset of the people, because not everybody's like that. Not everybody's not openly social like that. Of course, you got your strong players. You know, they come in, they collect the cash, and they just walk out. You know, they don't ask questions. Nobody asks questions. Hey, how did I lose to this? Or can you tell me what I did wrong? They just play and just walk out. So you're gonna keep getting a repeated cycle of the same winners. The same winners. The only thing that's gonna change is like probably first, second, and third place. But you're always gonna have those same people that are up there, because no one's really communicating. No one's talking to each other. You know, after the set, they play their match. They report their score and they just go stand on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen that firsthand too many times. Well, don't you want to know how you lost? You know, can we? You know, is there something do you need any advice or anything like that? And people, I guess, you know, people might actually get offended that you're asking or trying to offer advice, because they may take offense to it, saying that they think they're weak or something. But again, you're just trying to help. You're just trying to help at the end of the day, but it just depends on the person's mentality. But you'll see a lot of the scenes where you get those really, really low numbers, and you're kind of wondering, why is that the case? Why, you know, we used to have 60, 70 people. How did we get to 13? How did we get to 8? What happened? Where did those people? They're still in the state. They're still active in the group or whatnot, but they're not coming out to these events. And you want to know why? See, you look in the chat, you say, hey, there's a tournament today. Is anybody gonna go? Nobody answers. Oh, or you might see somebody say, oh, there's a tournament today. Who's going? Why does it matter who's going? Show up to support the event if it's available.
Yeah, if you believe in it, you should be there.
Yeah, I talk about the 10 years doing this. If I haven't learned lessons, what good is it? One of the hardest lessons to accept and one of the hardest lessons to swallow as a tournament organizer, and this is what, like, if anybody out there is listening and they're saying, I want to be a TO, I want to X, Y, and Z, for whatever reason they want to do it. Not going to be the same reasons as mine. They might be the same reason, but still, one of the hardest lessons I had to learn was you can't make people care. And JSpot and Redifer both have heard me talk about this a billion times. You cannot make people care. You cannot make people have the same passion that you do about it. It doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't matter. I mean, you could, and I found this out through the tournaments that I hosted. I found this out when I went to Wednesday Night Fights. I went to Wednesday Night Fights. Second week Street Fighter V was out. So the game it came out in February 16, 2016. This was like February 24th or whatever. And it's packed. There's like 150 people. There's like so many people there. And I asked this random Armika player, where I was playing casual. I go, yeah, so do you come out to this every week? And he goes, nah, man, it's just too far. Like, it's just too far away. So I'm thinking, like, okay, I don't know the geography of California that well, but I'm going like, hey, man, I get it. I got people all the time that, 2 hours is too far away. And he goes, oh, well, I mean, I only live like 20 minutes away. It's just too much. And I just stared at him with my jaw on the floor. If I was 20 minutes away from getting to play all these like top level California talent players, like I'd be crazy not to at least try. But again, that's the 404. You can't fight the 404. It's crazy up there. So you can't make people care. And what I say about the TOs is you can't let that discourage you. There's been some times where I've come out and ran locals with 50 people. There's been times where I've showed up to run the local and it's just me and the guy that rode with me. and we just sit there and I say, host no matter what. Just play no matter what. Because again, going back to the blueprint, the goal is not we want to host the biggest tournament in the city. We want to be nationally recognized. We want to have the biggest major on the planet. No. The goal is always back to the fundamental philosophy of you are trying to provide an opportunity for players to come out and play fighting games. And as long as you can keep that as the focus of I'm trying to give you an opportunity because, hey, people come out to play, maybe I'll find a strong player or maybe I'll find a new player that will become strong one day. Basically, keep the keys to the gym open and people will come out and get strong.
Yo, just a different take on that, right? Because as a dad now, right, I got my 2 girls. That's why I missed a lot of Street Fighter 5. I had kids. But as a dad, I try not to use the word can't, right? Because I don't want my girls growing up, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, right? I guess it's what I learned in school, right? Where you can do anything. You could be the president of the United States. Like, why the fuck would I want that? Anyways, sidetrack, right? I don't like to use the word can't, right? Robbie's not wrong. You can't make people care. So the way I would look at it, and maybe if anybody's listening out there, and instead of going away with just that take, this is why we're a team. We all have different takes. But like, people aren't, or most likely not going to care. Or maybe they're going to like Street Fighter a little bit. They're not going to like it as much as me, not going to like it as much as you, because we're crazy about it. It's our passion, right? You have to assume. It's my passion. But oh shit. Hey, am I back?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh Jesus. I just got the you're offline and now I'm back. Okay, geez. No, I pay too much for internet. Don't do this to me. Anyways. So like instead of saying can't, it's like, hey man, not everybody's gonna care for anything as much as you do. But with this, since we're trying to keep that community around, it's the way I would phrase it more is, how do you find a way to provide more than just the game, right? Because people are going to love the game, people are going to like the game, people will be interested in the game. That's their foot in the door. But since we're a community here, how do you or think of the way that you can then entice people, inspire people to continue to keep going? Like Robbie said, hey, I'm gonna sit down with you, I'm gonna teach you some stuff. And they're like, wow, man, now this person has taken interest in me, they care about me, right? And that gives Robbie an opportunity, or whomever is sitting down there, whether you're a leader or not, it gives you an opportunity to lead someone down a different path, or like expand kind of their outlook on what things are, right? For me, I know how these guys feel about it. I don't necessarily know how you guys feel about it, but man, I'm still sore that the arcades die. I don't understand how they die. They were the coolest thing in the damn world. Like, but I never want to see that happen again. And this is my version of the arcades. And instead of sitting by and saying, boy, I hope Sega Nickel opens back up, or they come out with a new version, I say, I'm going to go do something about it, right? We're going to go do something. So how can I make other people enjoy that? Am I going to create crazy brackets, have fun stuff? One time I made a wrestling belt. Hey, you can be the Street Fighter 5 champion. I've had special matches down in my basement where it's like, everybody come out, we're going to have drinking matches, right? You take shots. We went way too hard during my wedding where it was, we're going to play Marvel 3, and every time a character dies, you got a half shot, full shot, double shot, good luck, right? And people love it. It was a good time, right? And those are the people that I have seen stick around.
Because of that welcoming environment. There was a fellowship.
I'm saying go beyond. I'm saying do the church thing, where with church, it's like, hey, here's someone who cares about you. Hey, here's something that is supposed to make your life better. But then like the church beyond that is like, hey, together through our passion for our religion, we can have heaven on earth, right? Like we can have God between the two of us, because God is everywhere, right? And it's like, man, how do we get how do we use that as a blue? We keep talking about blueprints. How do we use that as a stepping stone to get to where we're trying to go, so people play video games with me, because I'm a lonely nerd, But like, it's the church thing where it's like, hey man, let's go a little bit further. Let's provide a community. Let's provide help. Let's provide a home, right? Let's sit down and like, let's talk about real life. And man, that's a whole other conversation. Boy, I like to compare
That's why I say it's
to
about
real life.
It's about the opportunity.
It's
And,
the opportunity, yeah. Like I said,
mentioned-
saying the same thing, just a different way.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, a lot of players that come out to this stuff might be kind of socially awkward. might be not acclimated to that social environment. And I've had a lot of players tell me, hey, thanks for hosting. Oh yeah, no problem, dude. Hey, you've gotten a lot better at your zoning. Oh no, thanks for hosting, because now I feel more confident, in public, or I feel like I can talk. I feel like I can talk to girls now, and kind of take a left-hand turn. This is kind of a comedic thing, but I'm driving down to a local, got my phone. This guy's telling me, hey, thanks for hosting. You really helped me with my social anxiety. And I say, no problem, man. I'm glad you come out. Just remember, you made the choice to come out. You made the choice to sacrifice to be a part of this. And, he is a very socially awkward dude, but he's coming out of his shell. And he goes, yeah. So I'm going to my first BDSM dungeon this Thursday. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what? It just went so crazy. And he's like, yeah, I've always been interested. And all I can say back to him is, be safe, take care of yourself.
Have a good time? Question mark?
Yeah, question. And I'm like, okay, but hey, still work on that spacing, and you're getting whiff punished a lot.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm glad you can, feel confident about that. And, I'm super proud of the guy, and he has come a long way. So it's all about, that opportunity, that kind of that church mentality of, we recognize that we can't be strong. If our guy at the bottom of the totem pole is struggling, we have to recognize that his weaknesses as a player is somehow going to affect us. Because if you sit down to play that guy in casuals and you're just steamrolling him, you got to work extra hard to find something to improve in. So why work extra hard on yourself when you could try to lift that guy, that player up to your level, to where it becomes more natural? So again, going back to that blueprint question, that's always the main focus: provide opportunity and then foster that growth when it shows up. And hey, just like I'm sure a lot of other people can empathize and understand, sometimes you're going to spend 2 hours talking to a guy about fireballs, and then that dude never shows up again. That's just part of it. Just keep hosting, keep going, take the opportunity when it shows up.
Don't forget your fight stick.
Don't forget your stick, or your controller, or your hitbox, or your bongos, or whatever you choose to play on.
Yeah, you go into your BDSM for the first time. Don't forget your fight stick, dog. You gotta have it. Protect yourself.
Yeah.
That both of you two bring up a very, very interesting point. But I feel like there was a piece of the puzzle that was missing. It starts with an M. I mean, yeah, it starts with an M. I'm gonna give you guys to think about what that could be.
We're talking about Marvel already.
Nah,
Yeah, I only speak fight
not
game
Marvel,
innings.
not Mavel. Nah, no Mavel.
Yeah. Money.
There it is. Come on. There it is.
So yeah, go ahead. So I'll let you ask your question.
Yeah, ask the question, because that goes a lot of directions.
Yeah, so the puzzle had a lot of pieces in it, but the corner piece was missing. So I found it. It was under the couch, so we could finish solving this puzzle here. But yeah, money it motivates, right? It motivates. It's we already know that events that are upcoming for the game, for Street Fighter 6, is they're gonna throw in a lot into the pot, right? With these venues and sponsorships and this, that, and the third, $500, $1,000, $2,000 pot bonuses and stuff like that. So it's gonna try to get everybody and their brother to sign up for these events, this is how you bring in the people. Now, I always said that I was just gonna sit back and then just watch to see how the community is going to flow, because when the when it runs dry, are those same players still going to be here?
Right.
For 5 months, let's say 6 months after 6 comes out, and all the pop bonuses are now gone. Now they're just hosting regular events and stuff like that. Are we going to see those same particular players, or were those players only there because of the money, and then now they're gone? And the reason why I say this is because we were bringing back up for Street Fighter V, when Street Fighter V first started. Majority of scenes, they had over 100 and something people, different pools and stuff for the event, because it was a brand new game and everybody was trying it out. So later on down the line, you started to see the numbers drop off. And I'm being optimistic, but I'm thinking this could actually be the case within 6, even if it is a good game. If it's a good game, of course people will stick around, but I just don't think it'll have those numbers like that because of the money.
Yo, so can I please?
I mean, yeah, I go for. I got it. I've got 6 in the chamber right now about this topic.
Oh,
Dog.
let's get it. Oh,
All right. You take 6.
So we did see that with Street Fighter V to a egregious level, and I'm not talking about this tournament has 500, this tournament has 2,000 pop bonus. Let's look at the global perspective here of what happened to Street Fighter V. Why was Street Fighter? You mentioned it earlier. Street Fighter V had an awful launch. No story mode, none of the extras that we were told. I mean, we never got story mode part 2, right? You know, I think we only had, what was it, 16 characters on launch, and at the time that was unheard of because you're coming from Street Fighter 4 that had or Street Fighter 4 has like what, 40, over 40, something like characters like that. So it just felt we got less. So you look at the bigger picture in terms of money and incentive. Why did that happen? Well, that happened because Street Fighter 4 in 2015 at Evo had the biggest Street Fighter turnout of their entire tournament series. Over 2,200 competitors for a single game. Sony sees that, and you probably see where I'm going now. How do we capitalize on this growth? The bubble is still going upwards because that was up. I think it was 1,200 the year before in 2014. So this growth is projected to be big. Money. Sony starts kind of artificially inflating the development cycle of Street Fighter V, saying we need to get this game out as soon as possible to strike while the iron's hot. Here's all these new fight sticks. By the way, here's the biggest thing we're going to do for you, Capcom. We're going to put all the money into this because we know Capcom is struggling because we're not living on Monster Hunter money yet, right? We're not living on Resident Evil 2 remake money yet, right? We're just like still kind of in that point where maybe we can get on ESPN. Sony's going to say, we're going to inject all this money into the community, but it has to be a Sony exclusive. I guess we'll let it be on PC. So what does that mean? All the fight sticks are now Sony PS4 exclusive. There is no more Xbox. We're never going back to the days of I show up to a local with my Xbox controller, but the local is actually all on PS3. Now everything is Sony. So money, right? And that drove the product out early. It drove the product half cooked. And then they tried to build the incentive behind it. Mandalay Bay, ESPN. And just like you said, a lot of people walk by. I call it dangling the shiny piece of metal in front of players' faces. And that kind of dies off really quick. Any other game that tried that, and again, not to talk bad about any of the FGC games, any other franchise that tries that dies week 1. But because it's Street Fighter and because it's Capcom, that's why that kind of practice was allowed. Now, fast forward to Street Fighter 6, they've learned from those mistakes, clearly. This feels like a much more polished, much more finished product that we will get on day 1 than Street Fighter 5 ever did. So kind of talking about like, oh, well, how long can you keep people interested? I talk about that's the opportunity. Yeah, the pop bonuses are going to dry up. But the idea is if you're going to be an effective host and organizer and community leader, you see past that. That pop bonus is just to get people in the door. How can you as a leader and as a community organizer get people to stay around? How can you convey the idea of, oh, no, the money might go away, but this is every day for us. This experience you're having right now where you're having fun playing fighting games, you're having fun growing, you're having fun losing, you're having fun, winning. This is every day for us. So
it's not artificial. It's not artificial hype, basically.
It's not artificial hype. Yeah, it's like, hey, there's more to it than that. And especially us as a gaming culture as a whole right now, that's the idea. Oh, well, you've been told your whole life you can't make money off playing video games, get a real job, et cetera, et cetera. Now you have Capcom saying, by the way, if you win Capcom Cup this year, you win $1 million. That's change your life kind of money. So that is going to be the message I'm trying to sell to new players. This is an opportunity to change your life. Winning $100,000 is one thing. Minna did his thing, but winning $1 million, oh, all of a sudden that's changed your life, changed your family's life. That's changed your whole existence. So the idea is the pop bonuses provide the opportunity. It's still up to the community organizers and event, and community as a whole to be like, hang around with us and play. We call it in Kansas City, we call it the 2-week curse. A new game comes out, people get hyped. Oh, this is going to be my game. I know everybody hears it. Everybody hears how when the new anime fighter comes out, I'm going to go harder in this than I've ever gone in my entire life, and I'm going to be that dude. They come out, they play it for 2 weeks, and then they disappear. And they're back into, they're back on Fightcade doing whatever and complaining on forums.
Flavor of the month.
Yeah, the flavor of the month.
That's what I call it.
yeah, 2-week curse, and you look at all the games when Street Fighter V came out. If Street Fighter V was kind of the starter for the current for the next generation. So then, okay, look what we have. We have Tekken 7, Dragon Ball Fighters. The list goes on and on. DNF, Guilty Gear Strive. Every one of those games is subject to that 2-week curse, at least in Kansas City. And then what I say from that is, again, this is kind of going into the pop bonus, like, bad games don't break scenes. A lack of leadership does. So you could make the best fighting game of all time, undisputed. This has everything every fighting game player ever wanted ever. And if you don't have the leadership to promote the game and, again, provide that opportunity, that game will die. We could talk this is an easy conversation for us to talk about Street Fighter 4 in here because we all like Street Fighter 4. But you also, on the same side, know but you also on the same side know a lot of people who hated it. But it doesn't matter because I think KOF 13 was an amazing game. And here in Kansas City, you only had like 4 or 5 guys that really played it. It didn't get stream time. It didn't have a local. It didn't have a blah, blah, blah pop bonus. But you had a guy that wanted to play Street Fighter a lot. Street Fighter got all those things. Dragon Ball, I don't think Dragon Ball is a bad game by any stretch of imagination, but you had no leadership for it here in Kansas City, so it died. I don't think, and Guilty Gear was the same way for the first probably 3 or 4 months the game was out. Literally, this is the new Guilty Gear game. I talk about how impactful Street Fighter game is. This is the new Guilty Gear game. It comes out, everybody's like, I'm going to go so hard in this. Oh, they buffed my boy Potemkin. Oh, this is on. I'm going to play this game. 2 weeks, they're gone. Why are you guys gone? Oh, because nobody is doing the hard work to provide the opportunity to play the game. So for my local, the thing at the very top, every time I post my events, it says all games welcome. Be the change you want to see. So that's like some of the most important advice I ever got. You want Mortal Kombat to be at your local? How come nobody's hosting Mortal Kombat in Kansas City? How come we don't ever get a big Mortal Kombat tournament? Be the change you want to see, man. How come step up? I'm providing the space. I'll provide the stream. But I need you guys to care. Oh, that comes back to that thing I said. You can't make people care. If I woke up tomorrow and said I want to be a Guilty Gear player, then I'd be putting all that energy into Guilty Gear, and Guilty Gear would suddenly be the biggest thing in KC. But it's not, because Street Fighter is my thing. That doesn't mean it couldn't be. Doesn't mean that Guilty Gear couldn't do the same stuff, or Mortal Kombat, or whatever game you want to put in as a placeholder. It's just that bad games don't kill scenes. Lack of leadership does. So if you have that leadership, you have the drive of, this is a new game, to hell with that. It's a new opportunity. It's a new opportunity to try to get those new players. It's a new opportunity to get those old players to care again. It's a new opportunity to learn more about yourself. How can I learn this new game in order to teach? Or how can I learn this new game and try to win as fast as possible and be that top player? That's that experience people chase, but can't be done without the leadership. And that's just coming back. Like I said, if I haven't been doing this for 10 years and not learned these lessons as I went, then what am I doing?
What is it all for? But yeah, man, that that pretty much hit it on the head. Be the change you want to see, man. Closed mouths, don't get fed. Of course, it could circle around back to that whole social anxiety type of deal, where people will complain in the background, but they won't do anything or take any corrective action to try to improve the situation.
Right.
Oh man, they don't run this game here. If they ran this game here, I'd show up. Well, what?
We definitely address that stuff head on. It's one of those things where at my locals, I really try to impart this notion that this is a place to come and learn more than just fighting games. If you feel like you're getting bullied, or you feel like the guy sitting next to you while playing is doing X, Y, and Z, I always try to impart on this. Hey, if you can't speak up for yourself, or you can't try to break through those social barriers, when are you going to do it? You think you're going to have the ability to talk to that, boss at work that's giving you a hard time, or that coworker? You think you're going to be able to stand up to that abusive family member, or whoever you might have dragging you down in your life? Do it here. Make those mistakes here. Get on commentary. Say the wrong thing. Hey, that's fine, man. You're not getting fired. I'm glad you made that mistake here, because that means you don't have to go make it in quote unquote real life. And that all comes back to provide that opportunity. That's why when I had that guy message me, we're talking about this dude would not be caught dead going out and doing anything like that. So for him to it's one thing to be like, if he's like, yeah, I'm going out on my first date with this girl, I'm like, great. But obviously he took it to, the 100th degree, and you're like, whoa, okay, hey man, that's great. I'm happy for you, not because I care about what he's doing, but because he feels confident enough to go out and express himself, that he feel like he got that by playing fighting games. And like Capcom's not selling that to people, and nobody's selling that to people. So that's to quote some scrub fighting game player that won Evo, fighting games are something so great. That's what he means about it, right? That's what Taquito means. It's the whole picture. Fighting games are something so great because you get all of that stuff inside of it. So the money is going to come and flow or come and go. Everybody knows that. Once the hype dies down, then it really will be who does care. Who could I get to care about the game? Obviously JSpot was like, I don't believe in the word can't. You can't make people care. That's from a host standpoint. My job, keep hosting. Keep hosting, whether it's 2 people or 100 people, keep hosting. Keep trying to provide the opportunity for people to play. If I got $1,000 to throw at the pot, I'm going to throw $1,000 at the pot. If I got 50 cents in a Monster energy drink to throw at the pot, I'm going to throw that at the pot. All I'm trying to do is say, come out here and you're going to get to play some good fighting games. Maybe. But I can't do it without you guys.
Now I did, I did try. Yeah, I did try that method that you'd mentioned about, continuing to host tournament events, because even in our state, I did like a mini series called One More Round. So what it was just basically just monthly tournaments and stuff, all leading up to like a final tournament with the pot bonus and top 3 medals for it. And people rarely come out. I mean, people wouldn't come out. I think the first one we had was probably the first one we ran, because it was a collaboration event with another player. His name was KB, and we did a collaboration event
I've worked
to
with KB before.
yeah.
I helped edit some of his podcast stuff. Good guy.
Yeah, he's nice. Yeah, nice dude. A man of many hats, man. Really good
He is.
entrepreneur.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, I worked with him, and we held the event down for the first few months. Then he said, you know what, I want to venture into something else. And I said, okay, all right, I'll take over the reins, and I can continue the project. So I ran a couple of the events there at the venue, and it was to the point where people in the chat, like I would post the event link. I say, hey man, y'all come out and support it and stuff, but nobody ever really responded to it. And our group chat our group chat right now has like over 40 something people in there that play the game, but they won't come out to compete. Yet they're probably doing like content creation or like doing something else, but they'll do everything else but come out to a local, you
Right.
know? And and there's a person in there that keeps up with the scene, like as far as like what other players are doing, and they're a pretty strong player too themselves. But this person won't come out to locals, right? And it just got to the point where I kind of got frustrated with trying to host the event. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna keep doing this. I'll do it up to the finals, and I did the finals in December, and I ended up winning my own event. And got the 3 medal. The top 3 got their 3 medals, and I just went about my way. And I said, you know what, I'm just done with it. I'm just done with it, because it didn't make sense to me why I would try to promote and tell people to come out to the event where either they didn't want to play the game anymore or they just didn't really care. So that led to me that let me know, why would I keep investing my energy into something like that? Like what would be the point of me keep hosting an event where no one really shows up like that?
Sure. And
Well,
that goes back to that geography thing I talked about, where if you have Southern California, whatever, 100 people show up for your weekly, you don't care if 1 or 2 people fall off. It's not your job to care about what the 1 or 2 people might be saying bad about the event. You just keep hosting because you got 100 people. So like for our community, I think for me, I've definitely come to that crossroads myself, especially those nights I talk about where it's just me and another guy, the guy that rode with me. I go, man, why am I doing this? Why, nobody seems to care. I guess I try to keep the optimistic outlook of like, but hold up. I know what it can be. I know what it can be like. I know what we can get to. So as long as I still care, as long as I still have skin in the game, I want to do it because that's what I want to do. And I don't blame you for a millisecond for feeling that way about like, why am I putting all my energy? Because it's a lot of work. And the meme that goes around is, TOing is thankless work. And I think the people that say that, I never say that. I don't do it for the kudos. I don't do it for the accolades or the pat on the backs. I do it because I want to do it. If I decide tomorrow that I want to go become a carpenter, well, I'm going to go pick up a saw and go be carpenter, and I'll go be good at that next. So that is hard, and that's a lesson I think that TOs can only learn on their own. You can tell somebody all day, hey man, it's hard work, it's thankless work, it's a lot of investing your energy, and you might not get any return back. But isn't that fighting games? All you do is sacrifice when you play a fighting game. You're either sacrificing your time, you could be doing something else, you could be playing a game that's more fun. You're sacrificing your money. You spent money on a venue fee where you could have been taking, spending that on a better meal or paying bills or whatever, and just your overall mental energy. They exhaust you. You come home and you're just done with it. So it's just a lesson in sacrifice that we have to do every single time we put a quarter in. Kind of how I see it. But it's very much to each of their own. I'm sure Rick feels that same way at some point. What am I doing this for? If just a bunch of nameless people are going to come up and talk about how much they hated Combo Breaker. Like, I don't know. I feel like everybody comes to that for sure.
It just, I mean, we of course, yeah, we have two different approaches on how we deal with it. You say keep going. I say, look, after a certain amount of time, it gets to a point where the frustration starts to set in a little bit,
Sure.
and you just don't want to like deal with it anymore. And and you can't really understand it, because you hear it is you have a venue, a place to go and play games and compete and run tournaments and stuff. But you also have a chat full of people who play the game, but they won't show up to the venue.
Yeah.
And and I don't understand.
I don't think
you can't make people care. Like that's what came back to me is like I kind of take it from the standpoint of control what you can control, right? You can control if you show up. You can control if you show up and pay the venue fee. You can control how many games you get in that night, call next or whatever. So I think when I kind of switched to that paradigm, it took a lot of stress off my shoulders. Oh, okay. Part of me is salty that I'm doing all this work and I'm putting all this energy to put on an event, and all I hear is people giving me reasons why they either can't come out or don't want to come out, or what we're dealing with in Kansas City is people want to go and start their own thing. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, hey, I'm trying my best to provide the opportunity for the entire community to come together and put something big on that we can all be proud about. And all you want to do is go off and start your own thing. And it's like, man, for on one hand, you say, well, Robbie, for the betterment of the community, you should support that event. You should support them. And I never tell people no. And for some reason, people ask me for permission. Hey, I'm thinking about starting my own thing. And I always say the same thing. You should go do it. Do it. Go do it. Pursue it. And then whenever I can't participate, then it's my fault when it fails. But it's the same kind of idea. Is like, man, I got a chat full of 100 people and only 6 people show up to stuff. What's the deal with that? Well, can't make people care. You could put on the biggest event. You could have the best fighting game on the planet. People are still going to have to make that decision. So it's like, for me, again, changing my paradigm to, well, I can't make people care. So I'm gonna control what I can control and just be okay with that. And that's just how I kind of dealt with it. And that's the kind of advice that I tell other people is like, do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because you think you owe it to somebody else.
So Robbie led me in good there. I don't think you're wrong for your decision. I don't think you're wrong for the way that you felt. When I was first starting to cut my TO teeth, I was piggybacking off of Robbie's event. I moved my thing to Saturday. He made the name. He made the graphics for me. He did all that. But I was running games that I personally didn't care about. I started running Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball guys stopped showing up. I'm like, okay, well, this is a waste of time. Okay, well, how about Tekken? I'll throw some pot bonuses at Tekken. Oh, well, Tekken's rolling good. We got, 30 people down in this basement. Oh, well, I stopped throwing money at it. Tekken stopped showing up. Okay, well, now this feels like a waste of time, too. I felt like people weren't showing up despite I was doing them a favor. This is for them. I wasn't doing it for me. I don't care about Dragon Ball. I don't care about Tekken. I don't play those games. I was like, this is just this was making me feel good because I'm giving something to the community. Turn around, I stopped doing it. I see how Robbie operates. I didn't really understand it back then. I do way more now. He hosts Street Fighter because he loves Street Fighter. That's all there is to it. He gives the opportunity for everybody else to come and do their thing. Even if it was just him and I down there in the basement, he's still hosting that. And I respect that. That's also not me. You know, if I'm kind of like you. If I see that there's not really a point to it, I won't go on forever and ever. Give it a couple weeks, maybe, sure. But if I'm sitting down there, okay, Dragon Ball bracket, who wants to sign up? No one says anything. I'm like, okay, you get one more week, and then I'm done. And then, of course, you know, the week after I stop doing it, it's, oh, well, what happened to the? I was going to come out to the Dragon Ball bracket.
Yep.
Yeah, I bet you were.
Yep. I mean, I asked you, Shadow. Since you have extensive experience hosting, and you've come to these similar crossroads that other TOs. Obviously, these situations are not unique to one another, but it's like, have you ever considered, man, I could just move? Let's see, Georgia. So it's like I could just move to New York City. What if I just moved to NYC? What if I just moved to Southern California and I could just be a player? I don't have to host anything now. I don't have to care and put the energy in that I'm doing down here. I can just be a part of an already organic and established community, and on top of that, I get to play with the best players in the world. Like, have you ever thought about that? Has that ever been an idea that's kind of crossed your mind?
Well, as far as moving, no. It's never gotten to that extreme. Especially, well, depending on the job, that it could be a possibility to that point, but at that, because it left such a sour taste in my mouth, it just didn't make it feel like I shouldn't have to move to another state where we already have an established scene. So in my mind, I'm thinking if we can get 100 and something plus players for an event, we can do the same thing again. You know,
Sure.
at the time, of course, life happens. You know, situations arise, things might change, circumstances may change and stuff, life-changing events. Fine, that's okay. This is more or less towards the players who are definitely capable, who have been out to the spots before, who can drive and who can make it, who live like 20 like you said an example earlier, 20 minutes away from the venue, but they still won't show up, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, then they're actually a good player too as well, but they just won't come to the event. So in my mind, I'm just thinking, well, I think this is all commercial. This is not. It's just, there's just no passion in the scene, right? There's just no love for the game. And that's why I say when 6 comes out, it's just going to be artificial hype. There's no passion to the game, because people, they may not like it, they may not like the game or what have you, but at the same time, if you're still playing it in the in the back of the back screen, you're still pressing buttons, you're still playing. I still see you on ranked. Like, bro,
Right.
I thought you were done with the game. Like, what are you doing? Right? You still
Yeah.
pressing buttons. You just, I guess, you just don't want to be around people, or social anxiety or something. But when 6, that's why I said that I was going to kind of like sit back and just watch how the scene operates. I
I
already
think.
know that there's going to be a good number of people for the first few events, but are those people going to stay?
I
That's my
think.
question.
I think it. I think it really comes down to, and again, bad games don't kill scenes. Leadership does. The people that do come out require twice the energy at that point. Oh, the guys that are coming out and they're sacrificing their time every week to participate in a local, I need to invest heavily into them. And it's kind of gotten to the point here in Kansas City where I've told a couple new guys, hey man, no offense to you at all. I'm super happy you came out here, because like we'll go out and do events in the community, and we'll do them for free. We'll put on basically free fighting game expos for people to come out, mash, you know, basically break our equipment. But as long as we just put it out there, like, hey, we're out here, we're playing fighting games, we're doing this thing. If we even get one person to come in, that makes the whole 2 days efforts. Like we did, like the big Comic-Con here in Kansas City, where we did that exact same thing. We had a bunch of Street Fighter 5 setups. They're like, hey, come play Street Fighter 5, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that guy come out. I've had 3 people come out from that, and I tell them straight up, hey, man, no offense to you. I'm so happy you came out. Don't plan on learning your name for the first month. Well, why would you not learn my name? Like, I know your name. Your name is Robbie. I go, I know, but you might not be here in 2 weeks. So until that happens, I am more than happy to show you how to play this game. I'll have a 4-hour long talk with you about all the intricacies, about all the stuff we're talking about right now in this podcast. But I'll learn your name in a month, because that shows that you're, willing to put it in. That's kind of been my take to it. So it's like, yeah, I don't turn my back away from the people, even the people that I can tell you're only here because this is a new game. You're only here because you swung into GameStop this afternoon and picked up the brand new copy because there's a big shiny, box art, and you think Luke looks cool and all this other stuff. I'll still talk to that dude. I'll still have that conversation. I'll still have that player, because I go, man, my chase is, if I could get you to stick with it, that would be awesome. That would be a bigger win than I could ever get. And that's the mentality I take with every single new person that comes into our community. And if they leave, okay, then that means I got to put twice as much work into the Redifer. That means I got to put twice as much work into the next guy that comes in, because they're staying. Something about this clicked for them, and they're worth sticking with. And but again, like I said before, I totally get that, man. Like, I feel that on a just absolute cosmic level of, I'm tired of hosting these events when I know I got 200 able-bodied people and they just don't want to do it. To the point where when I started my local originally, I was about 45 minutes outside of Kansas City. And I'm talking outside of Kansas City, and nobody else was around me. I started it in a small town of about 3,000 people, and all I had was high school kids. You want to think about trying to get fighting game players involved? Think about 2012 high school kids when they've got Minecraft and Call of Duty and all these other games. You're trying to get them into Street Fighter 4? Impossible. But it got to the point where Kansas City players would actually make that 45-minute drive to come out. So I thought, man, when Street Fighter 5 comes out, I need to move this local into the heart of Kansas City, because the biggest criticism I got was not the games being played, not how much it costs to play them, the payouts, none of that stuff, the stream, none of that stuff. It was, man, it's just so far away. Sure, I hear you. Let me try to do better. I put the scene in downtown Kansas City. I put the local, downtown Kansas City. I negotiated with the venue for a very, 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 very affordable price. And the only reason we got that price is because we were also running our regional tournament there. And the players that were complaining were still like, I would rather play Overwatch. And I just wanted to walk out into traffic. I could not, I was beside myself. I would rather, and this was week 2 of Street Fighter 5. Like, this was, the game was, we were still, I think we were like in March or something, and they were still telling me. So that's why I was like, that's proof right there that it's like, I can't control that. All I can control is if I still want to host. So because I want to do it, I'm the only one that can make that decision for myself. I choose to do it and then live with the consequences. But I was like, I was flabbergasted that all the people that had complained that my local was too far away, and these are good players. These were like, one of the guys I'm talking about, he got like top 32 at Marvel Evo one year. So he's a good fighting game player, and he played Street Fighter 4. He played Ibuki, blah, 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 unblockable, this, whatever. He was really strong. And he's like, nah, I'm going to play Overwatch. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you? So it's like, you can dangle something shiny in front of people's faces. You still can't make them care at the end of the day. If they don't want to care.
Yo, can I old man rant?
Go for it, yeah.
Motherfucker.
Oh, my clip is empty, by the way. I emptied out all the shots.
Well, all mine are going at you. If I ever hear you say that shit in person, if that person never comes back, I'm blaming you. Fucking, if you don't put the work in as a community person, I mean, maybe you keep saying communities fail because they don't have good leaders. Maybe you're calling yourself out, because if I had somebody sitting down to play, you got them. You let the fish off the hook. When you fuck up fishing, you let the fish off the hook. You fuck up talking to a girl, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say girls, be more PC. Someone you're interested in. Well, if you don't rekindle that conversation, you don't go back, chase it out, you don't put in the effort, well, you lost it yourself. And I see that the same way with every single player. Every single 25 cents, you let it go, it's you who let it go. Motherfucker. I'm not going to learn your name. You know what? I'll go ahead and tell you. I sat down with, what was his name? Scrumby, right? Sat down with him. I was like, hey, man, what's up? What's your name? I'm Jonathan. And he was like, oh, hey, fucking I already forgot his actual name, but he's like, I go by Scrumby.
Dude. Scrumby. Good job.
Yeah. He was like, I was like, what is your real name? And he told me, and I was like, tight. It's like, I'm Jonathan. I go by JSpot. And he's like, yeah, I go by Scrumby. And I was like, I prefer Jonathan or JSpot. And he's like, I prefer Scrumby. And I was like, cool. I'm gonna forget your real name because now you're Scrumby to me. And he was like, other people here don't want to know my name. And I said, let's just play Street Fighter because I knew what the fuck he was talking about. Shit ain't cool. That's good. No.
Because when I have a guy who's been in the community for 15 years talk about how I don't come out to your local because it's too far away, and I'm like, well, then let me move the whole local in. Let me make it 45 minutes for me to come out to my own thing, and he still says that. Like, I'm fortunate. Street Fighter is the most popular, one of the most popular fighting game franchises of all time. That cuts my effort in half. I don't have to go out and convince somebody that Melty Blood is a good game. I can just say I host a Street Fighter tournament, much like anybody who says I'm hosting a Smash Brothers tournament can pull 300 people, not because they're a good TO, but because it's Smash Brothers. That's just how it works.
Yep.
So whenever those players come out and it's like, hey man, all I'm doing is trying to provide the opportunity, and you're giving me every reason not to participate. At some point, kind of like, like what Shadow was saying, to preserve my own mental fortitude or my own, mental energy and efforts, I can't invest that heavy into every single person if they're just going to leave in 2 weeks. So
what do you really want?
In the context of I'm doing everything I can to try to provide an opportunity to play, and you're doing everything not to show up, that's fine. I say that tongue in cheek. Obviously, I care about every player that comes in. I want to know their name, but it's like, at some point, tell me that you're worth it. Like, and that guy, Scrumby, he came to the first one. Wow, this is great. Told him, I was like, hey, I'm teaching him Street Fighter. Tell him the whole thing. I might not learn your name for a month. The very next night, I was like, what's up, Scrumby? How you doing, bro? How did Tekken go? Great, man. That's as far as it went. Sometimes you gotta twist screws a little bit on people.
Try to make the effort. Especially if you are a community leader.
How do you get high schoolers to play in 2009 or whatever, when they're listening to Linkin Park and one of their biggest songs is "Pushing Me Away"? Robbie's gonna push him away.
No,
GG's, bro.
Host a free tournament with $50. That's what I did. Here's my fight picks.
Yeah.
If I get one kid to stick around, then that's worth it.
Hell yeah, absolutely. We're again, different takes, right? You guys talk about, why put this effort? I don't want to do this. I think that's good to know, right? Like, you should definitely find out about yourself and find out about like what you're spending your time on, right? Time is money. You say, hey, what about that money from Capcom's point of view, giving us this $1 million? That gives us 1 year to make people care for something other than money, or I guess until December, right? Whenever the fuck Capcom Cup is now.
Yeah,
and that's the real gift they gave us, and we need to take advantage of that, because as we all put together, money's gonna dry up. If you are hosting a thing, right, and this comes from hindsight, if you're hosting a thing and the numbers dry out and you're like, why am I doing this? I would think the next step should be, what do I want? That's the question you should be asking yourself. And for any hosts out there that might be listening, or might be going through troubles, it's all of us, right? You stop and you say, what do I want? If you're like, man, if only I had 6 PlayStations, man, that ain't right. That's not what hosting a hookup's about, right? That's not what fighting games is about. Man, if only I had 19 monitors, that's not what this shit's about. You sit down and you say, what the fuck do I actually want, right? All of us need to do that. If you're having trouble with whatever you're doing, and like I said a little bit, I alluded to before, I look at this whole thing as an analog for life, right? What are you doing in your life? What is it that's important in your life? How did the hookup, how did fighting games, fight mans, how did all this shit get in your way to where now you're saying, fuck, is this worth it? You sit down and you say, oh my God, what am I wasting my life? Oh my God, what am I wasting my life with, right? Like,
they're sitting there going like, was that Dapvip?
Yeah, Dapvip. Impersonation. Yeah, shout out to Dapvip. It's my dude. fucking is that work?
Yeah, I know.
Dudes, like, ask yourself, like, what is it you want? For me personally, when my shit started to fail, and people were like, "Oh, well, so and so," and it's like, okay, cool, somebody's doing it better. That's fantastic. Let me go check it out, right? And it's like, wow, man, I'm insulted. I do it way better than this, and I provide beer and pizza. Like, I do all this extra shit in my own home. But it's like, man, okay, you know what? The people or the whatever life has spoken. So now you're at an impasse. What the fuck do I want? It's like, okay, you know what I actually want? It's not 25 people in my basement stinking the place up, leaving Wendy's wrappers around. That's not what I want. I don't want my wife pissed off at me, right? Who's about to have a fucking baby. This is not what I want. What do I want? So I had to come up with something else, right? So I went a different direction. And like that was kind of the next phase for me. I would think Shadow, with what I'm hearing just from you, if I could, I would say the way that you maybe need to be led a bit is to ask yourself, like, what do you actually want? Maybe it's this podcast. Maybe this podcast is like really fun for you and like it really feels good. So maybe you invest yourself more in this instead of worrying about who the fuck's showing up to a local, hosting a local. Maybe it's you want to grow the scene. So it's like, well, then damn, double down on your local and then like start doubling down on going to the library and then speaking to people on message boards and shit, like physical message boards, like, which sounds goddamn ridiculous now, this day and age, but hey, that's where I came from, right? So whatever it is, go pound the pavement politically. Like, get out there, go do it. You got to put in like that work, but you got to know what the fuck you care about, right? Redifer hosting Tekken was a huge mistake. Sure, he got to get a better look at the hosting process, but goddamn, why would you ever put yourself in a situation to be bored? Like, what do you really want, Redifer? Like, oh, well, I'm here to help the scene. Well, you did that. Did you feel good? I don't know.
How did you feel
I felt
after?
real good.
Yeah, do you feel good? Fucking
Yeah,
not to I'm not even gonna go there. But like people do things differently. People do things bigger. Robbie brings that hard love that I love so much. I brought Robbie a ton of hard love, right? But and like I'm still gonna hold you to that, man. If I hear that shit, if they don't come back, I'm gonna blame you, and we can laugh about it over pancakes or whatever. But like I don't eat pancakes, and like we all do it different. But I would stop and take that moment, not just in your fighting game life, not just in your hosting life, but in your life, and stop and say, hey, what the fuck do I want here? You just want to throw fireballs? Well, then you need to find some people to throw fireballs with. You want to have the biggest tournament? You want to have 10,000 people in the middle of nowhere? Well, you better get to work on that because this hosting thing is your way. And it's one of those things. It teaches you in life. Do you want a house as opposed to your condo or as opposed to your apartment? You want to find a soulmate? Is it truly a soulmate? Is it you just want somebody to hook up with? Like, what is it? When you want to get over loneliness, figure out what the fuck you actually want here. Like, why are you going to do BDSM hookups, right?
Let me summarize really quick. It's trying to care about people who don't care about you because you feel like you have to care is like trying to eat your cake and fuck it at the same time.
Yeah.
That's where I'm getting at here. Like, you can't have it both ways. In the grand scheme of things, you need to care about the people that don't care. But that doesn't make any sense, Like the door it does both.
Care about the people who don't care?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
You got
saying.
to reiterate on that. You got to break that one down for me.
All right, you care about the people that don't care, right? You're hosting an event when you have 5 people show up to your tournament or your event. You got all these medals made. You got this whole format turned out. You have 100 people sitting in chat, and it's like you're like, I know I shouldn't. Why do I care about the people that don't care? Well, because you want to provide the opportunity to the community. Go all the way back to that word opportunity. You want to provide opportunity. How come they don't care as much as I do? Well, that's their choice. Well, I shouldn't care about people who don't care. And it's a contradiction because as a community leader, you should be trying to brainstorm, how can I get people to show up? How can I get people to stick around? What incentive can I provide? Well, my dude, you've already provided it. A competitive format, a price supported structure, and the opportunity to come out and play high level, at a high level in your game. What more could you possibly do outside of go into their house and say it's going to be here? because I promise you went into their house, into their living room and say, we'll host a tournament right here just so that instead of 5 people, I can get 6. They will go hide in the bathroom. Wow. How far do you have to go? How far should you go as an organizer, as an event, as a leader in a community, before you have to just be content with what your own efforts? I'm content with just saying, just keep hosting, just keep hosting, just keep hosting. If I pour 4 hours into a guy and he doesn't show up next week, don't take it personal. Move on to the next guy. Reinforce the people who are coming out. Preach to the choir. Sometimes choir still needs to, be told that they're off key. Preach to the choir. But to like, I think it's one of those things where you give yourself a break. You should care about people who don't care, but if you find yourself worn out, cut yourself some slack. You're human too. Give yourself a little bit of grace in a situation where people aren't going to give it to you. Because just like Redifer said, the minute you stop caring about people who don't care, they're going to say, well, how come you don't care about me? I do. I'm just taking a break. And that's how it's been for me. I go through ranges where I'm trying desperately to sell my game to people. I go through phases where I'm just happy for the guys, the guys that are here, I'm good with that. I'll save that energy up for the next Comic-Con. I'll save that energy for the next regional tournament where I see a new face. Because I do make that effort to go up to that new face and be like, hey, man, you having a good time? What games are you playing? Oh, yeah. Did you play? Did you win? Oh, you didn't win? Hey, well, you should come out to local on Thursday. That's where we get that real work in. Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah, hey. And I also, the first time people show up to the local, I always cover their venue fee or their bracket. I said, you don't have to pay to get in a bracket. It's on me. Even so, you provide all that opportunity, you provide all these tools, and people are still going to find a reason not to care or not to invest or not to feel emotionally attached. And that's okay. You can't make that decision for them, but I can make a decision for me. I can decide not to care just to give myself a little bit less energy, because the guys that need the energy are the guys that are there. So you can't have your cake and, bang it too. And you can't care about people who don't care to an extent.
You can't have your cake and have it flog you at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care what kind of I don't care what kind of mask it shows up with. I'm not.
It's more of saying the same thing in a different way, right? Like different approach, Because what I let somebody who is trying their best to not take advantage of what I'm putting out there, right? What I'm, what I built for them. Am I gonna, stay on them for years? I mean, technically, yes. I have a guy coming over so I can fix his arcade stick after he pissed me off. But still, no, you're not going to be chasing those motherfuckers down. They don't want to be here. And like, you know what? If that's what they want, and you can tell that that's what they want, that's different. But if they're still showing interest, that's where I say, hey, man, don't shit on them, right? Mm-hmm. No reason to get shit on unless you're asking for it, and that's what you came here for. There's specific hookups for that too. You can get shit on. No judgment, right? We accept all forms and all Fritos here. KSFGC. I'm sorry, in Team KC. What do we call ourselves? KSFGC.
JSpot doesn't. Listen, he's a little old. He's lost. He doesn't know where he's at.
Hey, man. Redifer told me one time. No, I'm just kidding.
Shout out to Dapvip again in chat.
Oh boy. Is he out here? He ain't on here. He's not in chat.
Oh my god, bro! I feel sick, dog. Like this Abigail, dog. He's not even playing the game.
Yeah.
With the Falcons jersey on, the Falcons jersey got to be on. Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. Of course, the first thing I saw in his apartment was a Falcons knife kit, and I go, "Really? What are you doing with this?" And he's like, "Man, I don't know." And I said, "I don't have a Chiefs knives kit. I don't have a Patrick Mahomes knife kit, but he's."
Hey, JSpot, did you hear? I was like, "What's that?"
I got Dap on a soundboard. That's just for his catchphrases.
Oh my god! Got Dap soundboards, yo.
That's the love, though, man. We love that guy so much. He comes out. He's a good, strong player. He's so good at like doing his best to keep other people in the game too. Just help us out, right? Because like I know he's hosted in the past, but he hasn't done like any like true. I'm not trying to sell him short, but like hasn't done like true hosting here in Kansas City. I wish he'd step up and do so. But like, man, he's such a good partner when it comes to like, hey, we're learning this game, or hey, we're putting the screws on somebody who's trying to get better, and it's like, oh, go get Dap. How they do against Dap? Go have Dap beat him up a little bit. And like Dap, I just love that dude.
I gave you guys a piece of the soundboard, the one that gets used the most. It's the Dap. Oh my God, it's in the Discord, so
Yeah,
I see it right there.
you can use that to your own devices. But yeah. So long story short, money will come and dry out. It's up to the TOs, and then it's up to the leadership of a community to take advantage of that opportunity. And like JSpot said, that $1 million is I've been working on that speech for a while of, hey, when we have our first big tournament, we have our first big local in Street Fighter 6, I'm going to say the same stuff that I said during Street Fighter 5 about take care of the guy next to you, because if you take care of the guy next to you, they'll take care of the guy next to them, and before that, we'll have a community where we all can grow bigger and stronger. The biggest local I hosted at that point was 38 people. So it's like when Street Fighter 6 comes out, hopefully it'll hit 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever. So that is what we're looking forward to. Yeah, shout outs to Gwinnett Brawl. Dap always talks about Gwinnett Brawl, and we've learned a lot about some of the situations he's dealt with, and some of the TO. It's always good to have. It's always a matter of perspective. Like you can't always learn from perspective. There's not always one right way. And it's like, oh, we'll listen to what Dap has to say about some of the challenges he faced when hosting X, Y, and Z. And this is what we have to deal with when doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, wow, we just got better. Kind of the same way of, how do I beat Bison's head stomp? If I just get told, figure it out on your own, then it's going to take me 10 times as long to learn about hosting and TOing or whatever. And it's like, that's what I try to tell I talk about those players who are like, I don't want to host here. I want to go start my own thing. Immediately from frame one, I'm like, well, let me tell you all the crap I've had to deal with. Because if somebody could have told me all the crap, X, Y, and Z, I would be a lot farther ahead than I am right now. But hey, here's my mistakes. I don't want you to make them. Here you go, free of charge.
We ripped on Dap a bit, and we repeated multiple times we love him, but from a TO perspective, purely the business side, I know that I can walk up during our monthly during max out and say, Dap, I need you to do this, run that. Hey, we need some help up at the registration desk. We're down somebody. And I know without a doubt that he can go do it. I don't have to think about it anymore. Just same way as if Robbie came to me and told me to do something. We all put a lot of trust in each other, and we all have the experience to keep pushing that forward. Dap is one of I don't want to call him a tool. I don't mean it in any sort of like negative way, but he is a good tool in our pocket.
We should probably foster more of those, right? Not necessarily a host, but like someone who is capable of hosting, right? Like, hey, your skills are here, like from a community point of view. I know recently I guess to not have like a background conversation here. Like recently we've been talking a lot about the whole leadership conversation, right? I stepped away from Street Fighter 5 so that I could have kids, learn how to be a dad a little bit, right? And took one of those breaks like Robbie talked about where I focus on something else in my life. And so I've gone down a little bit of the management journey, and I know management really isn't for me, but like leadership is something I'm very interested in. So like trying to bring what I've learned, like journeying into that in my personal career, my life, right? Bringing it back into Street Fighter. Street Fighter's life is Street Fighter. Bringing that back into Street Fighter. We've been talking about kind of like roles. What do people do? How do we keep them interested? How do we keep the good tools in the shed, right? Someone like Dap, man, I'd be flustered if I lost Dap, because exactly what Redifer's saying. Even on his worst day, if we're like, hey Dap, I need this from you, he's like, absolutely, and I know it's going to be carried out to like the most perfect degree. We should probably think about, while we've been thinking about like what is a leader, what is a host, what is this, we should probably think about that middle ground. Something I hadn't thought about myself. But
that's
to more Daps.
Yeah, I was gonna say to expand on that, to expand on what you're saying, JSpot. Maybe and this is also that can for the Robbie too as well, as far as like the community outreach and try to make sure a player is good. Now take that and you could spin it to be like, okay, well maybe if playing may not be the strong suit, but there's still other areas of support
Mhm.
that can be offered. And then this is where the team building comes in, right? You know what I'm saying? It takes a village to move a mountain. Teamwork definitely does make the dream work. I've seen people who only came in with maybe two family members or maybe like a friend or something to try to run events. They rented out this really nice venue and stuff, and they just tried to run the whole event like that. Didn't work out for them. They operated at a loss. They lost a lot of money just trying to run this event. They didn't want to do it again. They left. Understandable. There was no communication within the FGC scene because the
Mhm.
people they didn't know them, didn't know anybody, but they wanted to run these tournaments and stuff like that. And there was no outreach to get someone into the community to try to help them out. So they were just on their own. So when I say if someone is not as strong as a player, maybe there are other opportunities. Maybe they still want to be involved in the FGC in the scene, but there are other roles that can be offered. Hey, we need someone to help us set up the equipment, the monitors, test the stations, stuff like that. There's still things that they can do to feel welcome, and maybe if they didn't feel comfortable at the time competing, that could re-spark their interest in trying to learn later, and then that way they can already be established within the scene. Well, I help out the scene. I stopped playing for a while, but now I'm a pick it back up and try again, and that's where their confidence comes from. Then they could take that confidence and go to as many BDSM meetings as they want.
Right.
So
Hey,
there's a thing.
maybe you're
That,
not part of the choir, but boy, you can really pass that offering bag around real well.
well,
You know?
that goes back to, again, providing the opportunities. Like whenever I host Top in the Shop or the locals, it's not just an opportunity to get better at fighting games. It's an opportunity. Oh, you want to learn how to stream? You want to learn how to do commentary? You want to learn how to broadcast? You want to
Hmm.
learn how to sign people up in a bracket or take money or whatever? You want to call
Hmm.
matches? That's fine. Like just last night, the Guilty Gear guys ran their bracket on Saturday, and of a lot of the things that I say out loud, they're saying it now too.
Mhm.
And they're running the event basically in the same way that I have. So it's one of those things where most of the time I don't get a contributing member like a Redifer unless I take the time to tell him that full screen heavy kick Tatsu is ass. So that opportunity is, hey, now that you're into the game, just heads up, there's more opportunity here if you want to seek it. And we have things all the time like, hey, if anybody wants to volunteer for this next tournament coming up, or if anybody wants to learn the ropes on X, Y, and Z, you can do that. Right now, what we're
Hmm.
in the community is even people that I see that have that kind of leadership ability, they have that kind of charisma, or they have that ability to lead an event. The answer that I get back right now is, I'd rather just play game. And I say, absolutely. That's all
Hmm.
you need to come here and do. So we keep those avenues open all the time, because one of the things that I sign off with on my stream, I'm not making this up now to sound neat. What I say is, this is in no way a one-man band. It takes a team to move it forward and a family to keep it together. And then I give a shout out to everybody that helped that night. That's and I truly believe that.
Y-
Like, it is not a one-man band. I need a team around me to keep me involved, hold me accountable, keep me doing better. But then I need that whole community, that whole family to move it forward. That
You can
mission
tell
statement has never changed.
Robbie didn't make that up on the spot. He says it all the time. By the way, he stuttered it. Just want
Didn't want to. I
That,
didn't want to
that
mess.
that's his
I
that's
didn't
his
want to mess
ending
it up.
phrase for each stream.
to.
He throws that out there.
Well, that's part of it. I have another stupid line that comes out after that follows.
That's
Oh, it's
what
the
I was
best line,
waiting
Robbie.
for.
Do the line. It's the
Yeah,
best.
say the line.
Say it,
I'm
Robbie.
not
Come
gonna
on.
say the-
Say
Say it, Robbie.
I said it during KIT when I did commentary at KIT, and people kind of looked at me like, "Who the fuck is this?" And they're like, all I said was like, and remember, the worst thing you can do when it comes to playing fighting games is never picking up a controller. We'll see you guys next week, because
Ooh,
that's
so
what
good.
I
Fucking
truly
beautiful.
believe in. Like, people always say, what's the common thing you hear when you beat somebody's ass? What could I do better? And I look at it and I go, okay, well, you could throw better fireball, stop jumping, you know, learn a combo, X, Y, and Z. No, man, the worst thing you could have did was just never sit down and play. You could have done anything else in the whole world, but you decided to sit down and play fighting games. That's the best thing you could have done today. Great job. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for sacrificing your time. Thanks for listening to me blabber about fighting games. I was gonna end the podcast with that, but
we blew our load.
you blew your load.
Oh shit! It
No,
felt
but that's
so good.
premature.
That's okay. That's okay.
But
this
yeah,
comes back. Like that's how I want to be able to foster people. Like, hey,
Hell yeah.
just you being here is good enough. It is great. It's a huge effort on your part. Just you being here. So that's what's appreciated.
and then I'll expand on that too. I'll add on to it as well. Like how many there actually has been job opportunities where someone wanted to help out with the stream. Okay, they may not be too great at pressing the buttons and stuff. They learned how to run the stream. They learned how to set up the equipment and stuff. They didn't really have the the technical knowledge, but over time they can run the stream beautifully. Right? They take that, put it on their resume, and guess what? They get a job when they apply for it because they have been working with that experience. And I think it's important, man, especially if you stream, if you do, content creation and stuff like that. Put that on the resume.
Hell yeah.
Definitely put that on the resume. Anything that's dealing with any form of activity where you're investing your time and effort, and because that's a commitment, that shows a sign of you're committed to your craft. And I know some people will be like, nah, I'm not gonna put no that I set up a stream or that I stream and stuff. I ain't gonna do all of that. But I'm telling you, like that it's one of the things that can be looked for when applying for a job. And they want that, especially for IT field. If you're in the IT field, they want to know that if you know how to set up technical know-how and equipment and things like that, that's a good sign. Well, like, why not put that on the resume?
Sure.
Hell yeah.
I tell people
and
a lot of like, because I got my degree in broadcast communications, and then I worked for 10 years in live TV. So the main reason why I care so much about streaming and the quality of our stream and the look and the feel and the presentation, as well as putting my voice on the air, is because I do have, like, that's my first professional passion is live television and being in front of a camera and being able to talk, articulate ideas, put sports background on top of that, put the fact that my dad had done post-production media for almost 40 years. All of that just happens to line up. Wow, I can do this with video games too. So whenever I had a conversation with a kid a long time ago who was really just disenfranchised with fighting games, Smash specifically, and he was like, I'm just going to become a content creator and I'm going to stream. And he was only like 17 at the time. And I said, well, hey man, you should pursue like maybe go to college and get that broadcast degree. And you could make that into a real career if you wanted to. Not necessarily have to go to college, obviously, but one of those things where it's like, you could use that type of, the way that your brain is wired to become something, bigger in that regard. So yeah, that's important, to look at the bigger picture. Like I said, it might be an IT job today. Shout outs, got my Security Plus certification a couple weeks ago, so I'm trying to get into IT.
Yeah.
Or it might be a BDSM dungeon, either way.
Dungeon master degree.
Yeah, yeah.
It just, everybody's got their own, varied levels of success, but that you could always apply it to that real life function for sure.
Hell yeah.
I definitely have stream manager on my resume. Live stream broadcast operations, I think, is what I put on my resume.
You had to dolly it up a little bit, but
yeah, I had to gussy that because I said I play fighting games on Twitch.tv. Shout outs, leave a sub, like, comment, subscribe, and all that other crap. So
there it is, man. Appreciate you guys for throwing that out there. We're gonna segue to a couple more topics, and then we'll just open it up to whatever you guys want to talk about. So
sure.
This one was in relation to Capcom. They did an announcement a few weeks ago about the direction of banning, and I think we even talked about that earlier about like banning Hitbox, or at least I saw it in the chat about banning Hitbox due to the SOCD thing, the simultaneous opposing cardinal directions, I think. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So they like, yo, Hitbox gotta, it has to go. But what are you guys' thoughts on that that particular announcement, if you heard of it?
That's not exactly what they said, is it? I
It's
thought they
most
said
part.
that you have to have it so it'll be allowed as long as it follows suit the way that the PlayStation controller does itself.
well, so not the PlayStation controller itself. Street Fighter 6 handles the controllers that way.
Right, but Street Fighter 6 handles it the way that the PlayStation controller works. So
Right.
if you can make whatever joystick, whatever contraption, that like mound of clay that dudes bring, a big ergo box, whatever,
Right.
if you can make that thing work exactly the way that a PlayStation controller works, then it's fine, because then Street Fighter 6 does the work, right?
Right.
Isn't that what they said?
Yes.
Yeah,
Paraphrase,
so-
yeah. From a TO perspective, that is extremely hard to enforce. We don't have
absolutely.
a hardware device that we can have everybody plug their hitbox into and press down and up and see if we get neutral.
Yeah, we're not doing no check-in station. Ain't got no time for that. Yo, what is your opinion? Because I mean, I'll go ahead and spoil my opinion. I say fuck it, keep playing. Right? We're just Kansas City.
Yeah, largely, that's how I feel too. Because of the point that Redifer brought out is, we had a guy specifically do this back when Hitboxes kind of started, because Hitbox has been around forever, right? I remember they were back in Street Fighter 4 era,
Yep.
and nobody cared. You didn't see Sako doing the Evil Ryu combos with the Hitbox; he did with Fight Stick, so nobody really cared. And then now you're in Street Fighter 5, where hitboxes are becoming more prevalent. You even have Daigo and Fudo speak on their podcast. If you guys don't think that a hitbox is the most efficient way to play fighting games at a higher level, you are being left behind. Fight sticks are archaic, and they are not the best way to play the game. You got two of those guys saying, okay, there must be something here. Here's my tinfoil hat theory regarding Capcom's recent restatement, is that they are obviously not going to come out and say hitboxes are banned, because they have to play that game where if they try to be the biggest bully in the playground and say you can't use this because we said so, then people are just not going to play Street Fighter anymore. So they have to like kind of play this weird. And again, this is just my stupid theory, and I came up with this a couple days ago after reading it and stuff, because we have a lot of hitbox players. Our best player in the scene recently switched to hitbox about 6 months ago. Did it make him better at beating our asses? I don't think so. But hey, he still beats all of our asses with this. I go, maybe I should put on hitbox. But the point I'm getting to here is, I think that they released that statement when they did because going back to this money thing, is Sony making hitboxes? No. End of story.
No.
So it's like they can't
Sony's not
come.
making Fight Sticks either.
Sony is probably telling them, hey, you guys need to say something about this, because we're not selling as many boards to Hori, and we're not selling as many boards to Mad Cats anymore, or Kwamba, or whoever it is, because people are having these hitboxes made that are universal boards, universal all this, but it's the hitboxes problem.
Yeah.
You guys better say something about this, because we at some point, at some level, are probably still funneling money, especially because PS5 is the eluded, that's the preferred console that we are being led into coming to the CEO season and Evo season, and from here on out, we still might have a situation where it turns out Xbox is back on top and it runs Street Fighter 5 the best. That could still happen. We don't know that yet. So it was my theory that I think Sony had put a little bit of pressure on Capcom to release a statement, and that was the best they could do. And then we kind of saw some of the fallout where some people are like, oh, well, it's actually now easier to do, the down DP motion, or it's easier now to walk in block to almost a comical stuttering value because you guys force this. Then on the other side of it, I've seen people kind of throw out this interesting point. And granted, this is like an extremely salty point, but this one person on Twitter said, I think that that the FGC as a whole should agree to segregate Capcom and make them their own community. Oh, I like Capcom Fighters FGC, because their standpoint was, I shouldn't have to have one hitbox that works for Capcom games, and then one hitbox that works for literally every single other fighting game that exists on this planet. I know that's an extreme kind of take, but I kind of considered it a little bit like, well, yeah, that would be annoying if I had to have 2 exact pieces of hardware, except one of them can only play Street Fighter 6 and the other ones play everything else.
The counter to that, and shout out to Junk Food Arcades, they were pretty quick with theirs. They're getting ready to I mean, either they already have or they're getting ready to launch a firmware version for their snack box micros, where it's a toggle. You can change the SOCD. I don't think it's on the fly. I think it's on when you initialize it, when you plug it in. But you can toggle the SOCD modes, so you don't have to buy a second snack box, flash it with a new firmware that's Capcom compliant or otherwise.
Yeah,
But that's not available for
always been
everybody.
good about that. They've had like tournament mode, or you can, instead of doing universal mode, you can force PlayStation. I think my tinfoil hat is, look at everything else that's going on in Japan with fighting games right now, outside of just fighting games. Look at it from a developer point of view. We got Sakurai giving his little YouTube talks, going off on tangents, which I fucking love. But then we also have Bandai leading the whole group effort communications, right? Where we're getting all these different developers together to sit down and have these directorial talks. But then now look at the world stage here. The only person who actually has a game coming out, not in the pipes, not in development, but actually coming out, is Capcom. And I think Capcom needed to say something and took this as an opportunity, not to be a bully, but to take the first step at setting that standard. Because so far, nobody's talked about it from a developer point of view. They're just like, yeah, we know it exists, but they don't fucking talk about it, right? Because they're just making their game, and then you have to deal with Sony, you got to deal with PC, you got to deal with Xbox in this newer age. Like, they're looking at this, and I think Capcom's like, and they did this before. Capcom's like, we're gonna put out a thing, and we're gonna deal with firmware or hardware in X way, right? With PlayStation 4, it was what sticks can be used. Do you have to go buy a PlayStation stick? And they're like, well, there's a lot of people who have PlayStation 3 sticks, so we'll turn on. PlayStation gave us the opportunity to turn on the flag so that PlayStation 3 not backwards compatibility, what they call legacy mode. Legacy mode can be had, right? Or you might have to go through one extra hoop, but you can get your old ass stick to work from God knows when. I think this is another iteration of that, and this is Capcom, instead of going and having the big powwow and getting everybody into a stream so they can say, I think we should do it this way, and then have fucking Harada just disagree because that's what he does when it comes to Capcom. They just get it out there. Now we're first to market. And not only are they first to market on this conversation, they're going to be first to market with their game too. So they kind of got to figure that shit out. We also have $1 million on the line. Do we need a fucking everybody juicing over here, right? If we really think it makes you that much better, and I am in the camp that does think man, walking and blocking is better. The shortcuts are super cool and very interesting. They're very fun to do. I've messed around with one a little bit. I'm a stick player, whatever. But I don't care, right? I chose that going into it, and this is how I'm going to do it. But I think Capcom needs to do that. We're putting $1 million out there. We're having all these big group conversations. Everybody else's game is coming out after us. We're setting the stage for the next generation of fighting games. Again. So again, right? Thank you, Robbie.
And again.
And
again.
And
I said earlier,
again.
When Capcom talks, the FGC listens. That's what I mean.
You're goddamn right. And yeah, so that's what I think it is. I mean, that's my tinfoil hat. I try to look at the personal aspect of it, less of the PlayStation. Man, I really don't like PlayStation's involvement in PS5, so I try to, let's not go down that nightmare again, right? And I think what moves us away from that nightmare this time around is it's going to be on Xbox, and Steam seems to be the flagship version of it. It's not, I don't think PlayStation is the flagship version. If you've done any investigation, and I'll leave it there, right? So
I mean, cost effective wise, for Xbox,
speed to market, and since Xbox and PlayStation now build, in a Windows style Linux backend, it's easier to build for Steam because Steam is exactly that, right? From an OS point of view and from a coding point of view. So it's kind of hard to not say like, oh, Exoprimal is going to be on all the systems. Why is that? Because I can right-click port. That's why. So PlayStation, I want to believe that they're not as involved because, man, again, it hurts my feelings thinking about where we came from with Street Fighter V and now looking at this one. It makes me think more positively to say, like, you know what, this is them just getting out there and making the first move. They're being dad in this situation, right? And I say, thank you, Daddy Capcom. That's me. That's me. I'm a shill, complete. I love Capcom every day. You can't stop me.
We actually had a guy back when Hitbox. I mean, I was kind of started to say this story. We had a guy buy a Hitbox back when it kind of was starting to come to prominence, and during Street Fighter V. So like around like season 2, season 3, when you started to see more commonly used hitboxes. And he specifically bought one that did not have an SOCD cleaner. And he came to our local. And granted, he's not very good at the game, but he was playing Bison and he was walking and blocking at the same time because he could hold, back and forward at the same time. And whichever one he decided to pick, whichever button he pushed second was what Bison was going to be doing. So he did I think at one point he did like a walking scissor kick or something crazy like that. And like we saw it on stream, we were like, did he just do it kind of looked like like an autocorrect, like a wake up autocorrect DP where it's like, it shouldn't have came out that way, but it did. And we kind of looked at that. And then like later on down the road, this guy is not even in the scene anymore, but he was like kind of bragging to somebody like, yeah, man, I had a hitbox that didn't have that thing on it. Yeah, man, I really pulled a fast one over on the Street Fighter scene. It was just kind of like, all right, well, you cheated and you still got your ass beat, but thanks for coming out. But it was just kind of an interesting thing to be like, yeah, that's a thing. And just like what Redifer said, there's no efficient way for TOs right now. And talk about a logistical nightmare. If you show up for your Evo pool, that's at 4:00, but you got to register, you got to show up 2 hours early, not to get your casuals in, but to have a TO plug your stick in, go through this whole thing, test it, make sure that, and then it's like, what kind of precedent does that set? It's one thing to press a bunch of buttons. Well, what if I have a specific kind of firmware that clears until I plug it into, or until I hold the buttons down in a certain way, and now all of a sudden it's back to normal? Like the rabbit hole is too deep. Capcom can't possibly, without just coming out and saying hitboxes are banned. That's all. Like, they don't want to do that because they know it's going to. That's why I talk about being the big bully on the playground. If they come out and they actually say hitboxes are banned, does that solve the problem? Yes. Does it alienate a vast number of players who've adopted a hitbox? Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And that means more money. Even if, like, I feel like, yeah, like Chato said in chat, have Pokimane check every stick. Like, that's the meme, right? Whenever she took over or whenever she bought a share of Evo or whatever she ended up having, it was like, she gonna do that? Or the owner's gonna do that? Or the Cannon Brothers gonna come around to my fight stick and be like, I need to make sure that's a light punch, that's a medium punch, that's a heavy punch. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And these are problems these are new age problems because, hey, button checks existed not to make sure people weren't cheating. Button checks existed to make sure that everybody had the same buttons because some kid didn't come by with his 7-Eleven Slurpee, spill it on the cabinet, and now you don't have a medium kick anymore. Like, that was the whole point of it. So it's an interesting situation. Like I said, if it feels half-assed that Capcom is like, we're going to put this in, I feel like that's all they could do because the only situation left for them to do is to outright ban hitboxes, and it could still happen. I 100% still think a hitbox ban could happen. Whether it's, I just feel like if Melty Blood comes out and says Melty Blood hitboxes are banned, Melty Blood, nobody cares. Or at least not to the extent that they would care for Street Fighter or for Mortal Kombat or for Guilty Gear Strive, especially Strive. I think I see the most hitbox users are all anime players.
Yes.
But when Street Fighter says it, it's a problem. Even this little thing, even this little caveat that they placed on the stick still was enough to cause an uproar. Still was enough for people to knee-jerk and make entire YouTube videos with their reaction thumbnail images. Hitboxes are banned? Because it'll get them, 1,000 easy views. So I hope it doesn't happen because fighting games are about expression. what controller you choose to use is about expression, especially for people who use them for medical reasons. People that have developed carpal tunnel, or people who have nerve. I mean, like Ultra David, for example, could not compete for so many years in the game he loved because of controller. He had trouble on a stick and button. So he ended up 3D printing, like JSpot mentioned earlier, that Ergo box thing. It looks dumb as hell, and Alex Myers uses one too. It looks like he's holding like a soccer ball in his hand, playing, clicking buttons. But hey, his hands are damaged. You want that guy to play. You don't want to say, oh, that great player can't play because his hands, he doesn't have the same opportunities. Like, sorry, you can't come into my restaurant. Why? Well, because I'm in a wheelchair. No, you build that fucking ramp.
Broly Legs did it on a 360 pad with his tongue. So the Ultra David's a bitch. That's my hot take. That's all. Sorry.
No, but that's the thing. It's like, don't you see what Broly Legs has to deal with and be like, fuck, I wish there was a better way. Because that dude is nice. That dude's Chun-Li is nice.
Oh yeah, he'll fuck you up, dude.
He is never not gonna be nice at Chun.
He's also a nice dude.
Also a great guy.
Yeah, really nice.
And that's one of those things where you go, damn, I wish. Why can't that guy play? I want that guy to play. I don't want to tell somebody, like, I hate it right now. Like, sometimes I think back to when I ran local for Street Fighter 4, everything we had in our shop was Xbox 360. Somebody would inevitably show up to the local with a PS3 controller. And I'd be like, and that was before like converters and stuff came out. We're talking about like, this is basic level entry stuff. And he'd be like, oh, you guys don't play on PS3? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, because everything here is Xbox, and 99.9% of players all play on Xbox. Oh, that sucks. I don't have the money to buy an Xbox controller, X, Y, and Z. And it was like, shit, well, hey, somebody could borrow it. And then they go, oh, well, this doesn't have the extra 3 frames of lag my PS3 does. Xbox sucks. Oh, all right. But that's kind of the idea, is like, I don't want Hitbox to be banned, because but then it comes back around to, like, the good players adapt. They always do. Like, Daigo went from literally arcade stick to home arcade stick to Hitbox. No reason everybody else can't do it, but I hope it doesn't come to that point, because we now have proof of evidence. We have we have world champions on fight stick. We have world champions on pad. We have world champions on Hitbox now, and we'll probably get a world champion on a Guitar Hero controller, and then we'll get one on the GameCube, Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller. It's all going to be there.
DDR pad.
DDR pad, yeah. I've seen people play on. I did Evo judging one year, and one dude had a like a full-on home racing kit, wheels, pedal, shift stick, and it all just plugged into a single USB. And I was like, that's how we're playing Mortal Kombat today? And he's like, absolutely, dude. And then he put sunglasses on and got his ass absolutely beat. But shout outs to him for bringing all that stuff all the way out there to Evo.
Damn, he raced it his way to an L.
Damn. He was like spinning the wheel and doing stuff with, and all you see is just like, Scorpion is still just kind of hobbling around doing Scorpion stuff, but he's got to be on. He's like, play my fighting games the same way. Quarter mile at a time, vroom, drives away. Fuck, man.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time Capcom had to make a statement and then like take it back. Remember that when they did the whole thing about streaming the game?
Oh, sure.
Streaming Street Fighter 5, yeah. Like, you can't stream without permission slip.
I applied for it. The whole licensing thing where they were like, if you use our brand, if you use our logos, and here's a style guide. It was one of those things where it's like, first off, if I host my tournament for 10 years and I don't take any money off the top, and I get that cease and desist letter in the mail with the Capcom letterhead, I'm framing that shit immediately. That's going on.
Oh yeah, that's a trophy.
And I'm gonna hit broadcast like I do every Thursday, regardless, until somebody shows up and says I can't do it. But that was interesting. It really was, because I think though they didn't do a good job of explaining this in the fine print, but I think what they were doing was kind of the same thing a lot of other IPs are also trying, is they're trying to kind of build a roundabout way of saying, we are worried that our intellectual property will somehow be used in a cryptocurrency model that we can't control. So I'm a gigantic nerd. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 10. I'm going to use this example really quick. Dungeons and Dragons has this thing called an open gaming license. That means you can take the core rules of the game You can change them however you want for your personal experience. And then, because of the OGL exists, you can then publish that stuff under your name because the OGL exists. They posted a similar thing that what Capcom did, where it was like, hey, all of a sudden we are revoking the OGL. You can't use this anymore. What they were actually meaning to do, and the community, huge uproar. They're like, we can't make our own content. We can't make our own stuff. This has always been a core, a pin of the game. Well, what they didn't mention was we're worried that people are going to mint these as NFTs and then start making money that way. So I think that Capcom was kind of worried about some of potential cryptocurrency related models, and like, man, if someone makes a NFT of Top in the Shop and they make a lot of money off it, well, what does Top in the Shop do? Top in the Shop streams Street Fighter 5. Well, that's ours. You can't make money off that. Kind of the same idea as like when you upload tournaments, like early YouTube, or at least during the early Street Fighter 5 era, if you uploaded a tournament, sometimes your tournament would get flagged for copyright abuse.
Oh
And
yeah.
you'd be like, why is this getting flagged? Well, it's not getting flagged because you're playing Street Fighter. It's not getting flagged because you use a Street Fighter logo. It's not getting flagged because Ryu said Hadoken. It's getting flagged because the background music of the stage you picked on Bison stage is copyrighted, and that came up in the that comes up in the copyright filter. So that was that I in my opinion, that's why I kind of think they pushed it, and that's why it died immediately. Like, bless the community managers for trying to put those fires out, because I think they were kind of handed an unfair task. How do I go on Twitter and just tell everybody, by the way, you're not allowed to stream this game anymore? Okay, see ya. Have a nice day, everybody. Because Capcom said so. Bye. And it didn't go anywhere. It did, like, to my knowledge, it didn't go anywhere. I applied for it because I was like, well, I know I don't want to go through all the effort of planning an event and making Street Fighter 5 a marquee game, that is well represented within our city and our community, only to have, get an email saying, if you do this, we will, pursue legal action.
So
Fuck
it
no.
did. I did speak to somebody who got hit by that. I was down in Oklahoma for a tournament, and I
Yeah,
can't
right,
remember what tournament series that was, but they got fined. It was like $3,000, I think, because they didn't sign up for the. They were the only people I ever heard of that got hit, but they didn't sign up for the thing. They did a tournament. It was like right after the thing started too.
Yeah, I
Man,
remember you telling me that.
Shadow, that's your next guest. You hit that motherfucker up right now.
Yeah, I'll have to.
What?
I want to say that. I know who I was talking to, but I don't remember who was the actual TO for the monthly. But it was a $3,000 or a $5,000 fine for not being a part of the Capcom Creator Program and streaming Street Fighter 5, and then they just weren't allowed to do it.
Yeah, and what sucks too is like they were like just getting started. They hadn't even been doing tournaments like that long.
Yeah. The next one I went to, a similar group was doing stuff, and they just didn't stream Street Fighter. It was just Tekken and Guilty Gear.
Yeah, I think that was the kind of the solution, was to just either not stream the game or just not run the game at the.
Yeah, they ran it but didn't
fixed
stream it. It was really odd.
Wow, that's crazy. But they go down and release another statement. I guess shortly after, and like, all right, no, we changed our mind.
Take it back.
It was like community feedback. We've reconsidered some of the guidelines that were enforced in the initial draft, and what I will say, what was great about having Ultra Day as kind of a central figure. He's also very well versed in law. He's a lawyer, so it's always interesting to see him break down the things that we scroll through and just hit accept at the end. Terms of this agreement. He actually went through and was like, okay, guys, don't panic over this. This is what they're actually saying. And at one point it was, don't panic. This is what they really meant by it. Oh shit, just as bad as everybody thought it was. and then after they went back, he was like, this is what they're saying. This is what this term means from a law perspective. It's not as bad as we thought it was. So, but again, Capcom had to realize the secondary market, which is what we are, is valuable to their community. Like, it would be weird to go back to the 90s and sell an arcade owner a Street Fighter cabinet and then turn around and say, if you host tournaments, we want 30% of the cut, which is kind of the idea. But other gaming organizations do that. Card games do that all the time, like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, all that kind of stuff. It could be worse, TLDR.
In a nutshell. Now, also, I'll throw this too. In addition to that, we were talking about the hitbox, natural resolution. In regards to that, I did see someone, like, I'll just give an example. Someone was using Guile. They did a heavy kick into flash kick, like standing heavy kick into flash kick. I'm like, no way on God's earth are you able to do that with a pad or something?
We've been doing that in arcade since World Warrior, dog.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah,
you can totally.
Wait. You saying that's real? You mean somebody could just walk up, stand a heavy kick, it's a flash kick?
Oh, not a walk up.
Oh, okay.
If you got your charge and somebody gets in your face, yeah, you catch that shit.
Because there is a clip. I talk about Excellent Adventures. K-Brad does standing close roundhouse with Chun-Li into SBK, and SBK is still a up down charge input in Street Fighter 4. And when I saw that, I was like, what kind of wizardry? But that's just not charge partitioning, but some other crazy made up nerd term on the internet. But anyway, you said he walked up and did it. Yeah. That's some World Warriors, because World Warrior CPU, like hardest difficulty, will just cheat with Guile. They will like walk up and flash kick you, and you're like, what is this? Because they're trying to take your quarter. They don't care about if you're having a good time. But
so
anyway,
one of the 4 quarters that you had from back in the day.
My mom breaks it down. She's like, she goes, that Street Fighter cabinet, Guile will walk up, and on frame 14, when it becomes active, he will flash kick you through your Hadoken, which has a 6-frame startup with Ryu because you play low tier garbage. Damn, mom.
Jeez.
If only.
Jeez. And then the reason why I had brought that up, because they also included a modern mode, allowing modern mode controls too as well. What are you guys thoughts on that?
Think that, again, go back to that O word, that opportunity. If that's enough to get somebody into the game, I think what they do is they play modern mode, and modern mode is this is the final fair, or this is what was one of the biggest criticisms that Street Fighter V got on launch, right? The game is too easy. It's catering to casuals. The execution doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. I think this is Capcom's attempt at going to that crowd without stepping over the bounds. And I think the game that did this, this is why I think that Dragon Ball FighterZ is the best fighting game to be released in the last kind of generation, is simply because of how they chose to approach the casual community versus the competitive community. The casual community can just mash X and do an auto combo into a super, and the casual community feels really good about that. Their Goku just did a 10-hit combo into a big Kamehameha, and boy, that's cool. But that auto combo doesn't do as much damage as a real combo. That auto combo doesn't do X, Y, and Z. So I think with easy input, modern controls is an opportunity to say, here's the training wheels. Eventually, you're going to get tired that you can only go so fast with the training wheels on. Meaning, okay, there's going to be day one YouTube videos of, these prolific Street Fighter V streamers that are going to go rookie to diamond on, modern controls, ? But I don't think it's going to be a game-breaking format. It's not going to be like Super Street Fighter 4 for the Nintendo DS, where you could just tap Sonic Boom over and over and over and over again, and you would get frame perfect, Sonic Booms that come out. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's interesting because Tekken wanted to try the same kind of thing with AI finishing combos for you as a way to show the player that they could be capable of doing it. So I don't see it being a problem. I feel like people are going to try it out. They're going to say, I played Street Fighter on the SNES back in the day with my older brother, and wow, I can still do the same stuff, kind of, but they're going to get beat by people who know what they're doing.
Facts and knowledge.
Also, too, whenever they released Street Fighter 4 Champion Edition on a mobile phone, you had easy inputs for that too, but that was more of a hardware limitation because I'm not saying I was gonna go out and get a Bluetooth fight stick because I was getting so salty losing at that game, but I considered it. But yeah, I think it's largely to give the training wheels, give the ease of access, because one reason, again, going back to that Street Fighter V launch, it being so dismal, and I know I read this, was that Sony and Capcom were in agreement that they were worried that new players would be turned away from the game if they sat down against a Ryu who's been throwing fireballs for 30 years and dragon punching. So, or immaculate footsies with punishes, 8 frames of lag, if you will. Let's put 8 frames of lag on the game so it makes it harder for the experienced players to completely blow out new people. It's such a superficial way of doing that, but that's kind of why they did it. In my opinion, and from what I you kind of gather from reading different stuff. I'm just waiting for Combo Fiend to have his NDA expire, non-disclosure agreement, so he can actually talk about what the hell happened in that first year and a half of launch with Street Fighter V, because there's just so many questions that we have as a community.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I'm waiting for.
I do miss his ultra videos.
Oh my god, they're so good. It's such you have Peter Combo Fiend Rosa hosting Street Fighter V. Oh, this game's gonna be godlike, no question. But yeah, to answer your question, to answer your question, I think modern controls. I don't see anybody on modern controls having an explicit advantage because they still have to play Street Fighter, right? You still have to play Street Fighter, and if Street Fighter V laid the groundwork for the game, one of the things about Street Fighter V was the combos were easy, across the board. I know that there are some harder stuff. I know, like execution gurus really gravitated towards Ed because you just had to press 2 buttons. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking?
Oh dang!
I'm just.
You just kick him.
You just threw that in there. I see you. Okay.
Yeah. Look, but that being said, V Trigger 1 Ed combos, you gotta be on some shit to hit that stuff. That stuff is mucho spicy. So it's like the combos were easy in Street Fighter V because they wanted the focus to be on conditioning. They wanted the combos to be easy, the B&Bs to be easy, the routes to be very straightforward, because they wanted the conditioning, or they wanted the focus of the game to be on conditioning another human being. Street Fighter 6 is still very much like that. So in that regard, in that context, I think that even if you have to press 1 button to flash kick, do you know how to zone with a sonic boom? You still have to be able to accomplish that, right? Like, and that's like, there's still going to be vital fundamentals that you won't have, or at least that you won't be leaning on. So like I said, I'd say it's closer to training wheels. That's kind of what I have to say about it.
Yeah, and then once you get comfortable in that position to, after a while you get tired of pressing the 1 button flash kicks and stuff. And then it's like, okay, let me actually learn how to do the input to the move, and maybe they'll segue into doing that. But I was saying like the reason why I asked is because I was wondering how other TOs, how are they going to allow modern controls for their tournaments during the first first month?
Absolutely.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Please use it.
Please use modern controls.
Yeah.
If it gets you in the door and that's what you want, so that you'll come play, then yeah, go for it.
Yeah. My thought process on that too is maybe even having modern control only tournaments.
Ooh.
And just being like,
it'll demystify it.
It's not a shortcut to victory. Oh man, some of these easy controls actually feel kind of awkward. Like to go to Champion Edition on mobile device, Street Fighter 4 had proximity based normals, so you had like close normals, you had far normals, you had input, normals. You don't have that. You just have punch, kick, focus attack, and special button. And then if you do forward special, that's a fireball. Back special is Tatsu. Down special is Shoryuken. So it felt really awkward, but it was like a different way to play the game. So I mean, you can almost kind of post it like, oh man, they're having a modern fighting game format. I don't know. More options. I think more options is always important.
It's not a shortcut to winning. It's just a shortcut to DP.
I would say, this might be kind of a weird analogy, but it's like the difference between a wooden baseball bat and an aluminum baseball bat. If I step up to the plate, I still have to hit the pitch.
Mm.
You know, if I hit the ball with the aluminum bat, it might go a little farther, but I still have to hit the pitch. I still have to be able to, you know, perform. So I don't know. That's just kind of the take I have on it.
The durability though over time, yeah, that would be the only difference, because yes, it does give you the option to, you know, have those controls for the character, but over time you'd be wearing and tearing yourself down because fundamentally you wouldn't have that there. Now, from what I was seeing from modern controls, I only see do you only have access to a set amount of normals? Do you get access to command normals?
I have no
In
idea.
modern mode?
So I've done a little bit of reading and watching on it. From my understanding, it chooses your buttons for you. You don't have access to all of your normals at all times. You know, you might press you have light, medium, heavy, and maybe I think a special button. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but when you press that light button, the game decides for you what light button it's going to be, based off, I think it's range and the situation. So like if you're doing a combo and you press light, medium, heavy, it's going to try and string them together as best it can, if you can.
Okay.
So it cuts your character down, but like we've already talked about, it's a gateway. My wife wants to get into this game. She thinks that Street Fighter, what we do is cool. She does not care to sit down and learn frame data and, you know, all of that stuff. Modern controls are for people like that. She wants to get the feeling of Street Fighter. She wants to try it out. She wants to do all this stuff, and now she only has to worry about 3 buttons, and she can press that, and it's going to decide for her what's the best for the situation. We assume. I haven't seen anybody play on it yet, so we don't know 100% for sure. But
and too, I would also say, you know, in that perspective, you know, his wife being that brand new player, that's what modern controls are tailored to be. Just in the same way, you're not going to put training wheels on a BMX pro, you know, bike. I don't see a pro player being like, there's a real advantage here. I need to go to modern controls. Because like if it is a situation like what Redifer was describing, where modern controls, Ed. You know, if it's a situation where Redifer described where the game is giving you, you know, best case scenario is what it sounds like. Well, how fast is it going to be for a pro player to be like, at this range, the only button Ryu that will come out is crouch medium kick. So I'm going to use that against this modern control player. Or I know the modern controls only throw light punch fireball, no matter what. It never changes it up. You know, they don't know stuff like that. So I think it's just like Redifer gave the perfect example of this is going to allow somebody to come in and they say, wow, I did low forward fireball with Ryu. That was cool. The game said 2-hit combo. Wow, that's great. I pressed one button and the big level 3 super came out and it was this huge cinematic and boy, that worked. Oh, that player blocked it. Now I died. Oh, that player jumped over my fireball and I died. Oh, that player whiff punished my button and I died. So eventually you think if the player is having enough fun on modern controls, guess what they're going to do? Turn the guy next to him and say, so how can I not lose to that? Well, you're on modern controls, man. You really need to try out classic controls so you have a little bit more control over exactly how your character operates. Oh, okay. And then that opens that opportunity to teach somebody, get somebody more invested into it. And that is a huge wall. You know, a lot of people, you see it on scrub quotes all the time. I shouldn't have to memorize 500 inputs and be a robot to play a fighting game, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, people that play this game seriously or play this, you know, this hobby seriously, you roll your eyes at it. It's like, man, we all had to go through that at one point. Or we all said we have to learn something. You're going to have to eventually step up. You're going to eventually have to take the training wheels off.
I think one thing that I'm curious of is if it truly does like the best thing, you know, for whatever situation, would we be able to be like, man, I've never played JP, and then just like to get a quick rundown, let me just go mash, you know, triangle from over here, you know, to learn how this shit should be used. like not necessarily training wheels, but well, I guess training wheels, even for us who take it real serious, you know.
I'll say that when I say the best for the situation, that was the wording that was used in like one of the
Right.
it wasn't a trailer, it was like a developer talk.
Yeah,
the
the
developer
when they
conversation after they put it on the website. Yeah.
Yeah. So I highly doubt it's gonna like, you know, like you're gonna be able to auto whiff punish with it. Like if you're standing full screen, it's probably gonna be you press heavy, for example, it'd probably be like Ken's stand heavy kick. I could not see them being able to calculate the best button in every situation, but probably, you know, range, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'd imagine it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to see about tested too as well. Like, will it actually do the command normals? I know, or is it just like set to close and far range normals? So, like you said, it'll do it in best in any situation. So, say if your opponent is already crouching into the corner and you're pressing buttons, is it going to? And it presses the best button in the situation. You know, yeah, you're looking for the overhead, right? The command normal into the overhead. Is it going to do that? Now, if it does that, then I would say that actually might be a problem. That might actually be a problem there.
They showed it off a bit.
That.
I haven't gone back and watched it. I mean, I watched the initial one and I was just kind of like skipping through it. I'm like, yeah, whatever, who cares? Modern controls, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's actually a good question. I don't know if they touched on that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just know they showed off. They did some modern controls like playing against the CPU or whatever. Now you know what? Now I'm actually gonna go back and watch it again. Now because now you got me thinking about it.
You want to do walk-in SPD with Geef with what, one button, one or two buttons?
Oh, I didn't think about grapplers.
That's scary.
They already are thinking.
That is scary. But I mean, like, we can already walk in SPD.
Right.
But we had to learn to buff the 360 as we're walking, or do the forward medium kick, the hop, and then buffer the or what was it in Street Fighter 4? Forward dash SPD. You hide the 360 in there.
I'm not saying it's not scary, but if you look at, this is Street Fighter, it's a one-player game. This person, or my opponent, whether it's CPU or guy on modern controls, whatever, is making these choices, and I just need to beat them out on these choices.
Mm-hmm.
I think that takes a little of the edge off and puts it more on you, because I'm an inflection guy, but at the same time, I will be bitching when I get SPD'd out of bullshit. Oh man, that is scary.
Still got to hit the ball, man.
You still got to hit that fucking ball.
Still got to hit the ball.
We
have to know how to neutral jump the SPD. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be in there, like characters that just could probably like have bulldog offensive like maneuvers, like a far advancing normals and forward moving specials, like maybe Marissa, Manon, like all of those characters. But we'll see what happens. I think it'll be definitely an interesting turn of events on how tournaments are going to allow it. Like they'll do it for a trial period, but all right, we'll allow modern controls for this tournament. And if we see somebody in top 8 with modern controls, then we might have to say something. We might have to have a talk, yo. We'll see.
Wait,
that'll be a wild time.
The number of times that I've seen a certain Georgia Gammy player jump in the air, and I go to Dragon Punch them because I know they're going to dive kick, and they get instant roundhouse, dap, and the DP misses because they missed their input. Hey, let's put that dive kick on a single button, and I'll not have to worry about missing that DP ever again.
Yeah, it's more reliable now.
Yeah. Now he never will mess it up. Yeah.
Can you encourage him to use modern controls, yo? No.
I'm gonna encourage.
This,
I'm gonna say that
like
bro.
this.
Yeah,
modern controls. Dapvip.
We were talking
MC Dapvip, yo, coming soon.
Yeah. MC Dapvip. Hey man, I recommended that I told him this. I gave him recommendation back when he was trying to figure out this Balrog matchup, and it worked. And he's like, man, that really helped. And I'm like, Dap, we were talking modern controls. Fast forward, one Capcom Cup, $1 million, millionaire now. That's all it is. That's all it takes. No modern control.
You want the manager's fee? Let's let him get that 10%.
Yeah.
I helped you out along the way.
Yeah, I don't take a cut off the top. I don't take that money. It's just like, great job, Dap. Great job.
Good
He'll
job,
be like,
Dap.
I
Good
feel
job.
sick, bro. I'm done with this.
He did a voice. Yeah, he does sound just like him, yo. He sounds just like him, yo. Oh my god, man.
We have
Yeah,
fun out here, man.
Yeah, man. We
man.
throw the lumber around, man.
Y'all do, man. Y'all sound like y'all have a great time out there, man. I love to see it. Love to see the healthy community. And I definitely wish much success in the future of all you guys' endeavors. That first month, the streets will be watching. I'll be tuning into the streams. I'll be in there throwing that support out there, watching y'all. See who's
Hell
going to be
yeah.
the first person in top 8 with modern controls. I'm in there.
Yep.
Let's
Hey,
go.
just remember, just post this with reckless abandon. Just be like, I called that out back in April 16, 2023. Modern controls. And you post
There
it.
it
Give them
is.
the time link. Give them the time link to the podcast and everything, or timestamp to the podcast and everything.
It's like I said it. I said somebody was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
get
yeah.
in there. Didn't I say it? I said it. But next week we get some good information next week, man. It's the
Yep.
last showcase.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, for Street Fighter 6 on Thursday the 20th.
We got
being-
Wheezy.
Got Lil Wayne hosted by
Young
Lil Wayne.
Weezy.
You know what I'm saying? He might give a preview on some things there. So what do you think they'll show on
Open
that
beta.
showcase? Because they said it's like over 30 minutes, like 30 something minutes for the pot for it. So
They said a lot of people are leaning towards open beta. I think if they do that, it's just going to be the exact same shit, just so they can test like more than 10K users at once, right? And then
I think
Luke will get the Lil Wayne costume.
Oh, that'd be sick.
I think the one thing that they haven't really got a chance to let the people test is just like what JSpot said, is like eventually they were going to have an open beta just to stress test the servers they have. Like there's no way they're going to stick to a 10,000 person closed beta only and then be shocked and awe, when they launch the game and all the servers just fall on their face because they just released the biggest fighting game for the next 10 years. So I think the stress test is the big thing. As far as what characters will be allowed to play, that's up in the air. It could be all these new characters minus the guys we had in the last beta, or it could be a random assortment. I don't think that really matters. So open beta to stress test servers. But I think also what they might do is they might include a demo of the single player, like the Metro City, where you're like, you make your own character, you get to, hey, my guy does Shoryuken and flash kick, right? Or however that works. We've seen the clips of you're the character running around the city and interacting with like NPCs and stuff like that. So I think it'd be one of those things like, say your character levels up 1 to 20, and this beta says, oh, you can play the single version of Street Fighter 6 all the way up to level 5. So you kind of get that like chapter 1 of the story mode, if you will. So I think we might end up seeing that included in this open beta, because that's really, they are pushing that as a big part of the game. This whole character creation, running around Metro City or whatever city that they are using, and this kind of open world kind of Streets of Rage.
Final fight, you mean?
Final fight, my bad. Got the wrong one.
Jesus. We're going to have top 8 where it's like, we got 9 Squidwards. Everybody looks like Squidward.
Squidward is the optimal. So I think we could see like a small single player demo included in this open beta as well.
As for the actual reveal show itself, the whole 30-minute long deal, I was expecting a bunch of like Robbie said, story information. I bet we're gonna get more of like background character stuff. And my money's on an exhibition of some sort with who, it might be Lil Wayne, whoever they're gonna have play
Lil
one
Wayne
of the pro
and Daigo.
players. Yeah, it'll be something. It'll be like the Lupe thing, I think.
Oh,
Daigo
Lil
just
Wayne
keeps-
versus Lupe.
Daigo just keeps taking L's to American rappers
Yep.
forever.
It's gonna be Daigo again.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Daigo Juarez says American rap game too strong.
We actually have I'm pretty sure this is legitimate FGC canon. Local hero Daigo Umehara wins fighting game tournament was posted in a Kansas City newspaper, I think.
Really?
Like, yeah, that's where that meme comes from, and it was like Kansas City Star or some shit like that.
I've never heard of that.
Local, yeah, it's called Local Hero Daigo Umahare's wins fighting game championship or something like that. So
Damn.
I
So
don't know.
that goes from Kansas this whole time.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. He moved to Japan. He's out here going to Overland Park High School and stuff like that.
We breed champions.
That's Kansas' best kept secret, man.
I mean,
yeah.
when I had that conversation with the guy, he was like, "Man, you're from?" I said, "He's like, where y'all from?" I said, "Kansas City," and he goes, "Kansas? All you guys got out there is guns and cows, huh?" And I said, "No, we play Street Fighter 2." That's it's like, man, that's so it's kind of funny whenever it's like Combo Breaker, the Midwest fighting game tournament, no coast, no kings. First off, no coast, no kings is a godlike tag. Second off, I'm sitting here going like, yeah, but we're the real Midwest. Like, we're out here in the center. There's nothing here. But anyway.
Exactly that. Nothing.
Shout outs to Rick doing it. Selling me fight sticks and stuff when I need them.
Definitely. That's the last Street Fighter 5 US tournament for Combo Breaker.
Yep.
Well, mainline series at least before it goes to side game status, quote unquote.
It won't. Yeah.
Robbie's a hater. It will.
I'm not a hater. I just saw what happened to Street Fighter 4, and then I saw what happened at Third Strike when 4 came out. It's just one of those things Capcom moves forward.
I'm starting Street Fighter 5 Revival at the day that Street Fighter 6 comes out, and you can't stop me.
You should start it now. It's already dead. Boom.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Modern controls Ed all the way.
Yeah.
Modern controls Ed.
That's not true. I see Dap log on every single day. It must be
every single day.
Yeah, Riley's still playing too.
He's dedicated, and I could just hear the laugh in the background. I think I still. You have
he
the
laughs.
Clip, yeah.
He laughs in Georgia because all he does is he's just in pain all the time out here in Kansas City. he's just in pain. Oh my god! Like, I'm gonna be sick.
Oh my!
Oh my god! Why does that work? Why does he have that?
That one's my favorite.
Yeah.
Is that an actual clip in addition to the oh my god?
No.
What do I have here? I could give you some more.
No, give him the soundboard, Robbie.
The whole thing.
So we got the the Dap classic. Not safe for work. Where he goes, "Oh, fucking ass, bro."
Yeah, dude, fucking ass.
That one.
Best.
Sounds just like him, man. I was like, yo, Dap, when'd you get on this call? What's going on, man?
he goes, you gotta hit him up tomorrow and be like, Dap, great job on the podcast yesterday, man. Had a great time having you on, dude. Like,
yeah, I appreciate you for coming through, man.
Yeah.
Realistic Dap, just because I was gonna try to hang out with him this afternoon, but instead, I was like, hey, I already said I was gonna do this podcast. If you hit up Realistic Dap right now, it'd be like, hey Dap, what are you guys up to? I just watched the Braves beat the Royals today, 3-0.
Oh my god, I'm about ready to message
Oh my god, I
right
was
now,
my dad,
dog.
and it was good.
And I said, yeah, Dap, we don't have Patrick Mahomes playing.
Did you know the Atlanta Braves beat the Kansas City Royals today, JSpot?
He asked me, he goes, Robbie, you want to go to the Braves game with me at Kauffman Stadium? And I said, no, I do not, Dap. And he goes, come on, Robbie. Come on. And I go, why, Dap? We're going to get washed. He goes, yeah, I want you to know what it feels like now. I was like, what are you talking about, Dap?
Yeah, he was like, do you want to go to the Royals game with me? I was like, absolutely I do. And he's like, all right, tight, you want to buy tickets? And I was like, no, I got shit going on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dapvip, man.
Yep. I shared a couple more of those soundboards in there.
Oh my god! Yeah, I see the clips there. What is going on?
Yeah, they're great, dude. Like, whoever at Discord was like, "We're gonna add a soundboard to Discord." I hope they got the biggest raise possible because it.
Oh my god!
It was one of those things where Dap was playing. He was just playing CFN. And he was just having one of his moments. I kind of got over on the side and just hit record and just kind of let it cook and sliced it all up. And next thing you know, he's a soundboard.
Does he know that we made the sound, or does he know that the soundboard exists, or does?
No, he's heard it.
Okay, good.
No,
okay,
at one time I kept hitting the, he'd go, oh my god, and I'd go, oh my god, and he would be like, who is saying that? Is that me? Oh, you? He goes, oh my god, stop it! He's like, you all made a soundboard for me. I was like, yeah, this is that good. We need you around for sure.
That
brings us too much joy.
It comes from a place of love, man. So
Yeah.
Yo, for sure.
That being said, everybody in Twitch chat right now, you can get your own Dapvip soundboard for a low fee of $9.99.
In-store
Lifetime
soon.
subscription. Yeah.
Start peddling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a Falcons jersey with his face on the front of it, smiling.
I
Coming
actually have
soon.
a shirt where it's Dap's face with Cammy. She's doing, and it's just called "Dive Kicking on the Internet."
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can figure that one out.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, man. But once again, do appreciate y'all, man, for
Yeah.
coming through and hanging out with us, man. I think we're gonna dive into the announcement portion of it for upcoming events that we got going on, or that you guys got going on. SirRetro, if you're here with us, if you can kick us off with the first slide.
Absolutely. Just give me a second. Do a little switcheroo. All right, but like I said, once again, shout out to you guys, the Kansas City FCC fighting game community, and of course, you want to see what it's all about, on Facebook. There's the link there, and just go to the link and type in whatever, see what it's all about. There, I'm pretty sure they're very welcoming, just as much as we are. But I believe you guys have some events coming up. So, are the events?
So I'll just kind of chime in on that slide right there. So that's we do have our Facebook community, which is probably our most active, but I would say we're 50%. We're 50% on Facebook, and then we're 50% on Discord. So the goal is, join the Facebook page, even if you don't have Facebook or whatever, and then you can get involved with our Discord kind of from there if that's your thing. So that's just one thing I wanted to add on there. Like, we're not just Facebook or whatever. We have all those different avenues of social media. So the slide that you see right there, that is Top in the Shop. That's the local that I've hosted. That I just said earlier. Celebrated our 10th anniversary on October of this year. It started out as like a Street Fighter thing, but all games are welcome. That's every Thursday. The Twitch link for that is twitch.tv/team_KC. Street Fighter 5, little bit sleepy right now in Kansas City for obvious reasons, but it's gonna pop off at Street Fighter 6. It's gonna be a big deal. And that's just one more avenue that we continue to try to grow in. So if you're interested in checking out what we're doing, hit us up for that. So yeah, it's Top in the Shop. And then the other one, I assume, is coming up next. So that's Max Out. Max Out is the tournament that has been it honestly, it might be the longest running regional tournament in the entire Midwest, and I'm talking about Texas all the way up to Michigan and everywhere in between. The guys that started Max Out, I'd say talk about that. I stand on the shoulders of giants. That's JSpot's class. That's all those guys. They said, hey, we want to put on a bigger tournament that, really has some hometown pride to it. We're going to invite St. Louis out. We're going to invite Nebraska. We're going to invite the guys out in Kansas, like Topeka, Wichita, and really build those rivalries. And that's what Max Out has kind of evolved to today. So that's our bigger kind of regional tournament. That'll be on May 13th. That will be our farewell to Street Fighter 5 tournament. So, you kind of asked that question earlier, what kind of guys kind of backed off or might have taken a break from the game. I'm expecting to see some old heads come out and say, all right, one more time, let's put the quarter in one more time. Let's run this set, and we'll see how it goes. So excited for that one. It's always kind of bittersweet because, me personally, I'll never say that Street Fighter 5 is one of my favorite games, but I will always respect what it has done for myself in terms of, how I've been able to grow as not only a competitor, but as a person, as a host, as a leader, whatever, but also how it's helped the FGC as a whole grow. So it'll be fun to send the V off.
All right, cool. Well, we already sent their send off for Street Fighter 5 a month ago. And we actually going back in time a little bit with Street Fighter 4, but this is a special occasion because unfortunately we had a player that passed away a few months ago. So we're doing a special legacy tournament for Domo Chaos, and which will be featuring on Street Fighter 4, Smash Brothers, Tekken, Marvel 3, and MKX. So many of the games he was very fond of playing and very well known for. But in addition, though, we wanted to team up with a special organization that helps focus with mental health. So we'll be doing a special donation drive for Mental Health America of Georgia, which actually is in Atlanta, close by. So we'll be teaming up with them. The venue fee proceeds will be going to them. And of course, we'll have side tournaments in addition. Some people suggested Dragon Ball and a few other games that we haven't seen in a while to make their reappearance. But yes, this will be next Saturday, or technically this upcoming Saturday, at 5 p.m. for our tournament. Smash at 2, and the rest of the tournament, the rest of the other games will be at 5. But yeah, thank you to all the sponsors for this event, and looking forward to that. But I have one more thing I'll have to show you, and I think I got the right one. So, for those who do not know, we've been doing a Middle Georgia circuit since last year, and we basically had finalized by the end of our Cherry Blossom Festival event, which is always takes place in March. So, we started doing a circuit for it, and the first circuit was a success. We did certain games like Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Guilty Gear, and Smash Brothers, and go around the area in the middle of Georgia in various cities. Excuse me, and compete in for points and top 16 or top 15 at least by points, top 16th spot, last year's qualifiers, top stuff like that. So we did like something similar to Capcom Cup and Tekken World Tour, and do our own type of thing. So season 2 is confirmed to be coming very soon, and we'll have announcements for full details as soon as you think. But I'm excited to let you guys know that is on the way. But ShadowAce, give me a second. I believe you have something else, because since it'll be starting, I'll do a little transition right here. So I'll put it up. Give me a second. I'll fix this up.
Mm-hmm.
Because this would be the first yeah, this would be actually cool to have since I believe that since the game be coming out around the time. Here we go. All right, what do we have here?
Yeah, I had two other slides, but they weren't ready in time.
Okay.
But this one right here, I'll talk about them. But for this first one here, this is the 300 pot bonus here that's being hosted by Untamed Gaming online tournament number 1 for their ranking season. Here, so they're starting off with a bang. Another game was June 2nd, and they're doing it that weekend, so it'll be that Sunday, so that'll be the 4th. And of course, some people may have other means to have acquired it, maybe, even earlier, so I can't disclose that information, but regardless, it's going to be a good time, man. A lot of people are going to come through and, try their hat at some Street Fighter 6. So what's more chaotic than pressing buttons on day 3? Trying to fight for $300. A pot bonus included on that, so we'll see.
Hey.
Yeah, and there, me and Red, we already signed up for it, so we'll both be in the building, trying to hold it down for that particular event. The other 2 events, it was another one where there was a last chance qualifier for Ultra Street Fighter 4. That's being hosted by Untamed Gaming 2 as well. That event, I believe, it's a bi-weekly, so it'll be about 2 weeks for that. And the other event is in the making. I had to get in touch with the person I was working with, but that is going to be, I guess I'll throw the announcement out there. That'll be the last Street Fighter 5 tournament that I'll be commentating with for that team, and it's going to be a no V trigger tournament, and it's going to have a prize bonus, pop bonus too on that also. So we're going to have, you hear people throwing up the complaints about, yeah, if you ain't have V trigger, this and that. Oh, V trigger, get carried by V trigger. Y'all done heard this before. So this is an opportunity. This is to show the world, you know what I'm saying, what the game is going to look like without access to the V trigger. So this is a no V trigger type tournament. You can use V reversal and V shift, but if you activate V trigger, you do forfeit the round. So you know, once the details get finalized, I'll go ahead and post it on my Twitter at Mine of ShadowAce. But yep, that is it for me in regards to announcements. Did y'all have Kansas City? Did y'all have anything else y'all wanted to announce outside of that? Outside of those?
I think we should steal that.
Well, we are we are having a June. So what we're doing in KC is we're having a June 2nd, like day one, giant hookup. If we have a bracket for that, I haven't really decided yet. But we are having. So we saw Max Out is our regional for May. We will be having a Max Out specifically for Street Fighter 6 on June 3rd. So like a day the game comes out, the day after, we'll be having Kansas City's first Street Fighter 6 tournament, and for the bigger part of the Midwest. And then I'll help my boys out in Wichita. They have a bigger tournament coming up in June on June 10th called Kansas KO, which KO was initially a JSpot tournament, and he let them use the name. But they are also hosting a Street Fighter 6 tournament with $500 pot bonus as of now. So that's just kind of the stuff going around in the Midwest. In terms of like, you know, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma area. I know Oklahoma's got something going on in June as well. They haven't released any details about that, but you know, it's like you brought up in the beginning, man. Everybody's got this money. They want to throw it at Street Fighter 6 because they want it to be a big thing, but we'll see who's still around come, you know, season 2 Street Fighter 6, because a lot of people fell off after they decided they knew everything about what Street Fighter 5 was supposed to be. So we'll see. It's an exciting time to be a part of the FGC, and I hope that you know, if you've been on the fence because you had issues with Street Fighter 5, or maybe you had issues with Street Fighter 4, or maybe you got parried one too many times in Third Strike, this is a great time to get back into the game. Everything that I've played in the closed betas has been awesome. Feels great. The netcode is amazing. Can't say enough good things about that. And looking forward to another 10 years of great Street Fighter.
For sure, man. Definitely do. Once again, want to thank you guys so much for taking your time out on the Sunday to join us in here for this podcast. So if you're just tuning in pretty late, do not worry. This podcast will be archived and uploaded to the Reboot Retrocade YouTube channel as well. SirRetro will also have the link up as well when it's ready, when it premieres. So if you missed out on the first half, don't worry, we got you covered, so you can tune in again while you're working or whatever task you're doing. Going to, you know, certain spots. If you want to listen to that on the way to those spots, you can do that as well. You know, we're not judging here. You know, if you gotta succumb to your vices and go into be a dungeon master, do it. Do what you got to do. But we're not gonna judge you over here, man. You know what I'm saying? As long as you got your ears tuned into the streets and listening to the podcast. So final words for everybody. Red, we start with you.
Yeah, I just I'm actually a man of few words. I'm glad I can keep doing this with these boys. I'm glad you guys brought me on to come talk about all this past, present, future of Kansas City fighting games community. And I'd be down to do this again anytime you guys want.
There it is. Oh, we definitely gonna reach out for the run back. You know, if y'all want to do the run back, we can do the run back. You know, just let us know. Actually, I think that'll be a great idea, because let's say a few months in, you know, consider it like a follow-up report.
Yeah,
like,
a little touchback.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Give it about 3 months after 6 comes out, and that way we could follow up and touch base to see, well, what is it looking like now? Like, what happens?
See how wrong we were.
What I did with Street Fighter 5 is I didn't play any of the betas for Street Fighter 5 outside of the location test at Evo, because I just wanted to play Ken that bad and I wanted to try him out. When the game, the first day the game came out that we had a local, an hour before the local started, I brought on some of the, you know, prolific community members at the time and said, what are your day one thoughts about Street Fighter 5? And then I just kept that on my hard drive. And then a year later, I edited a video, you know, Street Fighter 5 1 year later. And I used all that day one footage of people not knowing crush counter combos, not knowing for the frame data, not knowing. Basically, everybody is trying to play Street Fighter 4 inside of the Street Fighter 5 shell. And it's a very interesting. It's called KCSRK 1 year later, or Street Fighter 5 1 year later. And I'm going to do that again with Street Fighter 6. And it's going to be, for me, it's like, man, every single person in this first video is not here anymore. Look at all these new faces. But then also too, like, okay, come 2024, I'm gonna play that 1 year later video, and you're gonna get to kind of see how we've evolved as a community.
Damn, I think that's a great idea, man. That's a great project. That's the way you can see like where everybody is and stuff. And he said the people who were in that video, they just outright moved away or disappeared or play something else.
You know, they like I kind of mentioned earlier in the podcast that know, those guys, they didn't tell me here's the reason why I'm leaving. They just did their own thing, and that's okay. Like they made that choice, and I respect them for it. If the game didn't grab them the way that Street Fighter 4 did, hey man, that's fine, because I'm only going to be able to control what I control at the end of the day, and I'm going to keep hosting. And that's why, like, now I got players like Redifer. Now I got players like, so many other guys. That's just how life goes. You can't be a senior in high school forever. You got to graduate.
It is. I like that. I like that analogy too as well. So what are your final thoughts, Robbie?
My final thoughts are: thank you for having us on. Thank you for allowing basically what you guys do. I might be understated. I talk about how TOing is a largely thankless job, et cetera, et cetera. We don't do it for that reason. But what you guys are doing, giving us the opportunity, the chance to come out and speak about our slice of the FGC. We are not the Midwest fighting game community. We are the Kansas City fighting game community. And that allows us the chance to have an individuality that we are different from Wichita. We are different than St. Louis. We are different than Chicago, and so on and so forth. But what we're doing out here is important. And so for you guys to give us the time out of your day and the time out of your schedule, not only to set up the podcast, but also do the production, set up the stream, run the slides, like all kudos, all thanks to you guys. You guys are doing something that is very needed. It is very necessary. And it is very important to moving the entire FGC forward. Like, I don't care if you guys decide to quit tomorrow. What you guys have done for the community to this point, it cannot be understated. So I want to say thank you guys for having us on for those reasons alone. Like, it's just super important.
Thank you.
Because this shit is not easy to do. It is not easy to take 3 hours out of your Sunday to say, let's talk about fighting games. If it was, more people would be doing it. The last time I searched, nobody is. And I've seen a lot of frauds try to do it too. And weirdly enough, they came out of Atlanta. So, yeah. But anyways, I can't say enough good things about you guys, what you're doing for the community. Shout outs to the Untamed Gaming. I watch the Street Fighter 4 brackets when I can. In that USF4 revival group. Shout outs to all those dudes too. No matter how weird they get. But yeah, just so, again, special thanks to you guys having us on today. And my sign off, if you missed it, the worst thing you can do when it comes to playing fighting games is never picking up a controller. So I will hand things off to JSpot.
All right, JSpot, your final thoughts.
Man, you had to have me follow the closing statement there, man. That's not cool. Hey, I think the main thing that I try to get across here is like Street Fighter to me is just a wonderful thing. I think if you have anything out there that you find, that you live passionately for, figure out what you really want from it and go do that. Whether it's Street Fighter, whether it's streaming, whatever it is, find your BDSM dungeon and you go after it. That's all I got.
100%. 100%.
Be the dungeon master you always wanted to be.
Yeah. I think Daigo said that once, but
yeah, Daigo did definitely so. He told me that when he ate my chicken strips.
Yeah.
That's a true story for the run back, dog. Anyways, hey man, let Robbie say the closing thing again. Robbie, do it again. Robbie, say it again.
I'm not gonna say a thing. Oh my god, that's
oh my god.
Yeah, just end it with the Dapvip. Yeah,
Dapvip. Yeah. Dapvip. All right, SirRetro, man, what you got for us, man?
Has everyone said anything? Redifer?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. But yeah, shout out to everyone here. Thank you guys. I learned a lot just listening to you guys talk about experiences from the past, the present, and the future. So it was amazing to see all different perspectives on the community and the game and the franchise as a whole. That was very phenomenal. I loved it. Um, Thank you guys for so much being on here with us. Once again, ShadowAce, thank you for allowing me to be part of this awesome experience. And like I said, season 2, episode 6. I mean, making this far after a year we started this. So thanks to you. Shouts to the homies out in the chat and well as the whole Middle Georgia FGC. Love you guys. Thank you, Coach, Retro Woe, Chris, Joshua, D3 King. I haven't seen so many the usual suspects, but even more. But shouts to Shadow, of course. Shouts to y'all guys from the Kansas City FGC. Thank you for coming out, represent, and tuning into our podcast episode. So we'll be having archived tomorrow at 12 for those. Well, hopefully by 12 for those who haven't got a chance to hear it earlier. But I love you guys. We're about to head up to actually one of our OG Marvel 2 Third Strike players' birthday. So we actually want to play some games over there. So, but yeah, shout outs to him as well. His birthday today. But thank you guys for everything, and looking forward to next episode. Looking forward to the future of the franchise. Excited for Street Fighter 6, but still keeping alive the tradition for the previous games. Street Fighter 4, of course, maybe Street Fighter 5, Third Strike, Super Turbo. Shout out to all the scenes out there tuning in, listening. Shout out to everyone. So yeah, of course, I'll be getting ready to do some rating, but ShadowAce, you want to close us out in a sense?
Yeah. Oh my God. Definitely, man. Yo, GG's, man. Good stuff, man. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Man, I had a great time today, and we definitely got to get the run back for sure. We'll get that down the pipeline. May even be a season finale type of thing. We'll see. But again, thank you, Robbie, for giving us your wisdom. Redifer, JSpot, you guys have been amazing, man. I can't wait to listen to this to get me through the first 3 hours of work. You know what I'm saying? Good stuff on that. Thank you for that. I look at the clock and it's already time for lunch. I'm like, yes, the day's almost over with. Yay! There it is. So big shout outs to you guys for representing and coming through. That's it for me. I'm out the door. Again, you can find me on Twitter at @ShadowAce. Stay up to date, and up tuned. I'll post up teasers and stuff on when we're gonna do the next episode. I already have an idea on what episode 7 is about to be about, so stay tuned for that. I'm out the door. GG's. Good stuff to everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Be safe and catch you next time.